Hello, romance lovers. Today I have a story for you called What Does That Evil Dragon Live For? Don't forget to support this video with a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new interesting stories. Thank you for watching. The main character, being tied with chains in a dungeon to a large stone and surrounded by jewelry, gold, and diamonds, never thought that she would die in this way. The young lady understands that she can realize her imminent death, but she did not even guess that she would plunge into eternal sleep as an offering. Elaine Newt, a young lady with long blonde hair, is widely known as a religious and virtuous girl, and thus revered as the savior of their empire. The man, reading the decree, announces that she has been chosen as the next victim for the unholy dragon Rebus. Hearing this, she was surprised and also scared because she had no idea what awaited her. However, if Elaine knew that everything would end this way, she believes that she would not have endured until now and would have behaved differently. The girl does not understand why she held on and suffered so much, since she still has to wait a long time, and she does not understand where this evil dragon is for whom she must become a victim. Suddenly, the girl's thoughts are interrupted by a strong wind, and she feels cold, and in the sky she sees the one she is very afraid of and is so tired of waiting for. She understands that he has already come. The girl closed her eyes out of fear, but finally plucked up her courage and decided to look death in the eye. Seeing a large black dragon in front of her, she asked God to let her die without suffering. The black body with large teeth indicates that he could not even think about it, since he had already lived long enough but had not yet seen such a beauty. With a large claw of his paw, the dragon touches the excited girl and asks if they have met. The surprised girl reflects on how she was always told that she had a terrible fate. However, she believed that this would be the worst day of her life until she met Rebus. However, a few days earlier, a meal for the poor was taking place in the temple, and the Holy Father was looking for Sister Elaine, who was serving food. Having found the girl, the Holy Father tells her that when she finishes distributing the dish, she should go to the laundry and help there, because more free hands are needed. Elaine, hearing this, looked at the table full of dirty dishes and said that she has a lot of work to do here. However, the main character says that she needs to carry about 200 dishes and then wash at least 400 plates. Elaine asks the Holy Father why he should help me and reduce the work for women. The surprised man replies that he is not the person who should do such work. The main character asks what he means by such a job. However, the young lady claims that the Holy Father became a priest because he wanted to follow the orders of their god Bara. Elaine asks the man if he thought he would live and work in comfort in that case. She asks if Bara taught them to live at a leisurely pace, reading the Psalms. The blonde girl, claiming, tells the man that if he insists that she go to the laundry, then at least the Holy Father should hand out food instead of her. The man furiously replies that he has already said that he is not the right person to do such work. However, his thoughts are interrupted by the screams of people who are screaming that they are hungry. While distributing food, the main character thought that the same people always work while the rest goof off. After washing the dishes, the young lady helped in the laundry room. And having done all the work, she confidently says that this is all for today. Suddenly, the girl heard screams and then saw two men fighting over a piece of bread. One of them screamed and asked if he could eat less because he was smaller than him. Elaine turns to the guy and asks him to let the other guy go. The girl warns that if he doesn't, she will make sure he is never seen in the dining room again. The surprised guy doesn't understand anything and asks the girl who she is. The young lady was informed that she was a sister of the Favelo Temple and her name was Elaine Newt. The girl asked if she should accept this as an act of insult to the nobility. The stranger, hearing this, shouts at her not to make him laugh and asks what kind of nobility would work in such a place. He claims that it seems to him that the girl does not know what it is to insult the nobility. Elaine looks at the guys in surprise and shows them the pendant and then asks them why she would lie about something like that. Seeing the pendant, the stranger excitedly apologizes to the girl because he has never seen a noblewoman working in such a place. The main character claims that if he does this again, she will really make sure that he is never seen here again. The children who saw and heard all this discuss among themselves about the pendant, which is called the emblem of the believers. This pendant is a sign of distinction that the believers wear to distinguish themselves. When the young lady came to the kitchen, she saw a lot of dirty dishes again. She rolled up her sleeves and started working. However, at the end of the day, the girl felt that her hands were numb, and her partner encourages her because they still have more than 100 dishes to wash. The main character says that it seems to her that it will never end. However, having done all the work, the young lady says that here it is the end of the year in a free dining room for the poor, in which there are only 5 people left. who must cook and carry out and then wash everything. Elaine thanks them for their hard work and turns to her sisters and suggests that they relax since they only have to finish washing the dishes by the end of the day and they don't need to rush. Friends say they can't imagine what they'll do when Elaine leaves them, since her time at the cathedral ends this year. The main character says that she didn't even notice because 10 years have passed since she came here. And she tells her sisters that she's sorry, but she'll be leaving them in a week. Hearing this, her friends tell her that she has nothing to regret because they wanted to say that they were happy to be here with Elaine. The nobility usually stays here for 5 years to study religion, but the main character stayed for 5 more years. The red-haired girl asks the young lady if there has been any news from Count Newton. Hearing this question, Elaine thought for a moment and replied that there had not been any. The main character remembers the day when her father told her that she would go to the temple. He explained to the girl that at least one child from each noble family must serve in the temple for at least 5 years. The head of the family says that Damon was originally supposed to go there, but he is the second heir of the Newton family and still has a lot to learn. Having made a decision, the head of the family sends Elaine instead. The blonde man states that the girl should be grateful that the family accepted her, despite the fact that Elaine is an illegitimate child of the family branch. However, after the main character had been in the temple for 5 years, no one came to take her. And the Newt family left her for another 5 years on top of that. The girl thought that it was all for the best. And as soon as she finished her service, she would be obliged to leave the temple. She would pack her things and leave. Newtham said nothing to me. The main character thinks about running away somewhere far away and starting a new life. A free life that she can feel. While sitting at work, the girls suddenly noticed that the sky had become very dark. Elaine looked up and wondered if there was a huge fire somewhere. At that moment, the girls saw a huge bird. The dragon, addressing them, tells them to listen to his people. They are full of lies and pride. He claims that they must pay for their sins, for their humiliation, and seals the creatures of the sacred in the last 500 years. The big bird announces that in 3 days they will perish under the wrath of the black flames because the unholy dragon Rebus has returned. The dragon Rebus is the 44th dragon to appear in the entire history of the Kalian Empire, as well as the last and only dragon to return. 500 years ago, Rebus wreaked havoc across the empire, causing its inhabitants to tremble in fear. And it was because of this that he was called the Unholy Dragon. He was eventually sealed by the greatest mage of the time, Lancer Aquinal, and disappeared from history. What, however, is now, 500 years later, the announcement of the impending doom of the empire, which came immediately after this return, proves that he is still offended by the past deeds of men. The day before Elaine is to be sacrificed, the emperor calls for the high priest, Johann Favello. The emperor asks the priest where the holy knights are. Favel replies that due to the sudden activity of the monsters, all the knights have been sent to the southern regions of the empire. The emperor was very surprised to hear this. However, Favello claims that he sent an urgent order to reorganize some of them to the capital, but even the fastest knight will have a hard time getting here in 3 days. The emperor does not realize how unreliable this sealing ritual was because the dragon has returned. Priest Johann Favello thought excitedly that he could never have imagined that the dragon's seal would be broken in his lifetime. Because all this time the priest was collecting the bones of God knows who and calling them the greatness of the magician and worshipping them as relics, claiming that they are capable of maintaining the seal of the unholy dragon. Favello used them as a pretext to make believers out of the nobility and to extort double the payment from the imperial court for the protection of the seal. An agitated Favello thinks that the emperor will soon take his head before the unfortunate dragon destroys the entire empire. Suddenly, the priest's thoughts are disturbed by a female voice, and a beautiful lady enters the room and, addressing His Holiness, says that she has read books about dragons. The woman claims that she is worried about the empire and has found a way to appease the blackbird. Interested, Favello says he would like to hear this method, whatever it is. Miss Lorena reports that in the past, when a dragon appeared, the people of those years would appease it with a human sacrifice. However, when the sacrifice was brought with treasures that pleased the dragon, it would soon calm down after devouring the person and return to its lair with the treasures. Surprised and at the same time interested, the priest claims that this method is worth trying, since they have many people on death row and they can choose anyone. The lady, objecting, says that they cannot sacrifice anyone, even a criminal, and instead they must offer him a girl who is chaste and devoted. The surprised priest asks if Lorena wants to tell him that they must sacrifice the Holy Sister. The woman claims that this is what she saw in the Chronicles. She explains that people offered a beautiful and pure virgin as a sacrifice. Favello is puzzled by the question of which of the sisters would agree to become such a sacrifice. Lorena claims that this is an emergency for the entire empire. The woman asks if His Imperial Majesty and His Holiness can issue a decree and choose someone. The worried priest asks the lady whom she can advise. The woman claims that this girl should be the one among the sisters who has neither parents nor siblings. However, ideally, someone who understands the scriptures and understands the sacred significance of her sacrifice. Lorena suggests that it would be better to look among adult women rather than little girls. The priest does not understand who this lady means. But suddenly he realized that this victim could be Elaine nude. Favello asks the lady if the Count of the Newts has agreed to this. Lorena replies that he has, and besides, the imperial court knows that this is a heavy sacrifice for their line and goes beyond the call of duty. The woman claims that in exchange for this human sacrifice, His Holiness will be able to buy enough time until the knights return, and let him be sure that they will defeat the dragon. The priest happily asserts that the future Earl of Newt has found herself an amazingly insightful woman. Having written the order and put the seal of Favello, he thanks Miss Lauren for her help. The knight reads the order, which states that Elaine Newt is widely known as a faithful and virtuous girl, and thus revered as the savior of their empire. However, she is not chosen today as the next victim for the wicked dragon Rebus. The surprised girl, hearing about this, asks whether, because she lived in faith and virtue, now she has become a victim only because of this. Lauren, addressing the girl, states that she should perceive this as the greatest honor. Since Elaine is the most devoted and righteous of all believers, and therefore was awarded such an honor, the woman says that she will do everything possible to ensure that everyone remembers the great sacrifice of the Holy Sister for the benefit of future generations. The main character, addressing the woman, says that she despised her for a long time and now got what she wanted. Lorena claims that this is not just what she wanted. However, she feels that the Count in Newt and her husband Lars were simply happy to hear the news. Hearing the name Lars, the young lady cannot believe it because this man was the only one of the Newt family who did not torment her. Lars was the only one who always listened when she needed to speak out. However, the main character cannot believe that he was happy about this news. When Elaine went to the dragon's lair, many people came to see her on her last journey, sympathizing with her. The young lady, like a criminal, was put into a carriage with a cage, and on the way she saw her uncle, with whom was Lars. The uncle, addressing the girl, says that she is a stupid girl. How much she must show the spirit of Newts that she is doing this for the good of the empire and its people. He tells Elaine not to dare to show them such a pitiful expression. And addressing his son, he explains that he is leaving for a short time to meet the envoy. When the uncle left, Lars came closer to the girl whose eyes were full of tears and took her hand. Looking at him, the girl thought that he would never leave her. A handsome guy, addressing the main character, says that he is glad because she is becoming a part of something grand. Hearing this, the young lady is very disappointed. Lars explains that instead of being sold as a second wife to some nobleman, he is sure that this destiny is more worthy of her. The boy turns and walks away. However, the young lady cannot believe it because she was sure that Lars would try to save her. Elaine placed all her hopes on Lars, who disappointed her. The father turns to his son and says that all this is thanks to Lorena's brilliant idea. How they were able to get rid of this useless girl with maximum benefit. Uncle says that once the dragon retreats, they will take advantage of the fact that one of their gate members has been sacrificed to demand substantial compensation from the temple and the imperial palace. Newton suggests that Lars and Lorena attend every social round they are invited to and show everyone how devastated they were after this valiant sacrifice. Lars thinks that instead of watching another man steal Elaine from him, he would prefer the girl to this fate. The dragon looks at the girl you claim that they have already met and asks her if it is true. The surprised main character doesn't understand anything and asks where they could have met. The big bird asks the girl if she was trying to pretend she didn't know him. The girl who was taken away replies that all she knows is that he is the great lord of Rebus, and she read about it in history books. The dragon, looking at the girl, understands that she really does not remember anything. He explains to Elaine that she is the person who broke his seal. The main character was very surprised to hear this, since she is the culprit who woke up the dragon. The dragon soul turns back into an egg once it is sealed. However, it requires the blood and tears of a human to break the seal. The blackbird claims that her blood and tears fell on the egg he was sealed in, and this allowed the dragon to awaken. I heard this girl apologize because she doesn't remember anything about her ever breaking the seal of Lord Rebus. The dragon claims that a lot of time has passed in human years and perhaps she has truly forgotten. However, he has no doubt that the young lady is the person who awakened him. since he would not have been able to see the mark on her forehead. Big Bird claims that the mark is visible to him as he is bound by a contract with her and other monsters. However, it is not surprising that the girl did not know about it. The main character asks a question, and somehow, and what contract is he talking about? Big Bird answers that whoever frees the dragon from the seal makes a contract with him. The girl asks again about what happened to her then, since now she is also bound. The dragon replies that she should not tell him, that the people of the current era do not know about this. The Blackbird, addressing the main character, says that he grants her 3 wishes as her debtor. However, he is obliged to fulfill them or the girl must live as long as she is allotted. This is a feature of the contract to release them from it. The dragon asks Elaine what her first wish is and to name it. Hearing this, the young lady thought that this meant that she was bound to the contract with the dragon without her own knowledge, because she was the one who awakened the destruction of the Empire. The main character thought that she was sleeping now, because she must have fainted before getting into the carriage. The girl thought that she could be braver because she was already sleeping. Elaine asks the dragon if it makes a difference what wish she makes. The Big Bird replies that of course there are some restrictions, but many things can be forgotten when it comes to her. The young lady asks that the dragon not destroy the Empire, and she thought that with such a wish, she could take responsibility for awakening this destruction. Hearing this, the Blackbird asks the girl in surprise if she wants him to destroy them. Looking at the dragon, the young lady thought that she had angered him, since the bird looks irritated, since she is stopping him from taking revenge. The dragon understands that if he destroys the Empire, the girl will be left completely alone and it would be quite useless. Big Bird suggests holding off on destroying the Empire while the girl is alive. The main character corrects him. You suggest he said forever. Rebus claims that the wish should only concern the girl. After all, what happens to the world after her death should not concern the young lady. Hearing this, Elaine thought that it was not bad, because she did not want to anger the dragon so that he would not refuse to grant wishes at all. The girl says that while she is alive. The dragon agrees with the young lady and tells her to know that in order for her wish to be fulfilled, he will first have to get rid of the unholy energy that the dragon has been accumulating in his body. Big Bird claims that she has no choice but to go back to the beginning, until he fulfills her first wishes. The main character felt the magic that was circling around her, and she did not understand what was happening, and she became very scared. Suddenly, the young lady found herself in the garden under a large tree. Opening her eyes, she realized that something was wrong. Suddenly, the girl felt a blow and then a pain in her head. As it turned out, Martin had thrown a stone at her, thinking that he had made an accurate throw. The main character seems to understand everything and thinks that this can't be. And she can't believe that it turns out to be one of those days when she could barely get enough food in Count Newt's mansion. Elaine doesn't understand how she ended up in the Newt's garden again. The girl was born without a father in the country house of the Newt family. When her mother, who was herself the illegitimate child of the previous earl, moved her home without her husband, the little girl was christened with a stain on the Newt's birth as the illegitimate granddaughter of an illegitimate daughter. After Elaine was born, her mother began to weaken and passed away when the girl was 7 years old. She remembers how a man screamed and called her a creature that killed her own mother. He was surprised and asked whose blood flows in her so that she could kill her own mother. The new head of the family and his wife despised Elaine, which meant that her cousins got away with tormenting her. The main character recalls that every day of hers was filled with countless injuries and bruises from their attacks. A young lady remembers the day she turned 16. Instead of congratulating her, the boys simply caused more injuries, like any other day. The girl thought that it would be better if she went back to the time when she lived in the temple. However, she still got it in the temple, but at least the girl had 3 meals a day. Elaine does not understand why she returned on this day. The dragon, who was big a couple of minutes ago, says that this is the 3rd time. However, his shell is still annoying. Sitting under a tree, the main character saw a small bird and asks it if he is the Lord of Rebus. The dragon replies that everything is correct and she is his human partner. He asks the girl if she remembers where and when they first met. The main character replies that she remembers that day, but she is not sure that the little bird appeared in front of her like that. Rebus explains that it took him a long time to hatch after being sealed for so long, and that the girl most likely ran away when he emerged. Elaine remembers that she cried a little on the ground and then got up and walked straight to the mansion. The main character realizes that the stone that Martin threw was a dragon's egg. The little dragon says that if this human child had given his blood and tears, then he would have become his partner, not her. Rebus claims that in any case he will be able to guess her second wish, and this wish is to kill the people who abused the girl. Hearing this, the girl objects in surprise because it is not true. However, she asks the dragon not to kill anyone. The dragon asks why he shouldn't do it since these kids attacked first, and he asks the girl why she isn't mad at them. The young lady replies that she can't kill everyone around her just because she's mad at them. Little Bird says that this only applies to those who don't have the power to do so. He says he forgot to tell you something. Since he and Elaine are bound by a contract, she can borrow a little bit of his power. This means that she can kill whoever she wants. The surprised lady replies that she can't do that, and the dragon asks why he doesn't understand and asks if the girl wants to waste her wish on these people. Rebus claims that he won't count it as a wish when he lends a little power to kill a couple of people, and suggests that the girl think of it as a bonus. The main character thought he was talking about the bonus as if he was selling something in a shop, because she thought dragons were supposed to be sacred creatures, but he was acting like a child. However, the way he talks about wish fulfillment is suspicious. The young lady felt that his manners had changed slightly since their first meeting, because she had heard some rather unconventional sentences. The main character thought that Robert was acting so imperious and at the same time childish, and maybe it was because he was younger now. Elaine explains that if she kills everyone who hurts or angers her, there will be no one left around her. The bird claims that there will still be a lot of people left even if she kills some of her entourage. The girl replies that the imperial court will then send knights to arrest her. However, she does not want to be involved in something so troublesome. The dragon claims that she just needs to become an empress, and he can definitely fulfill such a wish. The girl takes off the crown from her head and says that she does not want to become an empress, since her original wish was for him not to destroy the world. The surprised young lady asks the dragon why he brought them to this time. He replies that it is the easiest way, because the dragon realized that he is not strong enough when he decided to destroy the country. Rebus explains that he added something else to his mana to compensate, because it would increase his power. And to put it simply, these are devilish powers. When a dragon replenishes its strength with the help of another, it becomes very difficult to restrain its destructive instincts. He explains that if the dragon wants to restrain itself and not destroy the empire, it must cleanse its mana from the influence of another. However, this would take some time. The bird explains that this is the easiest way to return to the moment when his mana was not contaminated. Elaine thinks that she almost got to the point where freedom was just a step away from her. But now she will have to live through those terrible times again. The girl remembers that in her past life she suffered because she did not know a better life. However, now everything has changed. And suddenly she thought about the fact that she can now live a different life. The young lady asks Lord Rebus if he plans to stay here with her. The dragon asks where she is going with this and if she is thinking about leaving him again. The girl asks who told him that she would leave him again. The little bird replies that she did so last time. As the dragon tried to get out of the egg and look around, and to his surprise, there was no one around. The surprised girl says that she did not leave him because she simply did not know that the dragon was there. Hearing this, the bird replies that he was just joking and suggests that she not be such a serious girl. The main character says that now she has seen everything and even the dragon's joke. Rebus claims that in any case, he will always be on her side until he fulfills all 3 of her wishes. Elaine asks the dragon if people will be afraid when they see him. He reassures the girl because she is the only one who sees him. The main character says that now the mana of the ruler Rebus is not contaminated by anything, and this means that he will not destroy the empire in the future. Hearing this, the dragon says that he will burn everything to the ground as soon as she dies. Elaine asks if he didn't say that the dragon has almost no strength left, since he doesn't plan to consume another one again. Rebus, hearing this, claims that it is none of her business and calls her a trifle. The young lady asks the dragon why he is so fixated on destroying the country. The dragon explains that these people deceived him and locked him inside the egg for 500 years. And he does not understand how one can forgive such humiliation. Elaine says that it was many years ago, and besides, she feels that using another would not be good for the Lord of Rebus. The dragon agrees with the girl and says that he can die from the return of this power. However, as they say, he must be ready to pay the price to achieve his goal. Since now she does not like it, let her try to turn him into a kind dragon. The main character realizes that she can now raise Lord Rebus to be a good and virtuous dragon, because it can stop him from devouring another, and he will not try to destroy the world. Hearing this, the dragon agrees with the girl and says that theoretically it is true, but she does not think that the dragon will change his plans just because of one human girl like her. Lord Bara, their god, has given each one a special purpose. However, those who have met the Creator after fulfilling it can rest in the heavenly lands of eternal joy and peace. And this is what is written in the Holy Scriptures. Elaine thinks that up until this point, she believed that her purpose was to work in the dining room, laundry room, and other places. However, her true purpose may be something completely different. The girl ponders what her real reason for having a difficult childhood, or being sent to the temple instead of her cousin, or going back in time after that so that she could raise a good and virtuous dragon from an unholy one. The main character thought that raising a dragon would take a long time. And when he grows up kind, then she will use her last wish and ask him for a free life. The young lady, addressing the dragon, says that only time will tell if he will change his mind. She asks for a chance to introduce herself properly. The girl and the dragon introduce themselves, telling each other their names. And after that, Rebus suggested that the girl hurry up and say her wish, of which she only had 2 left, since he would be able to fulfill them before sunset. The young lady says that since she can rush herself and miss such a chance. However, she should think carefully before making wishes. Hearing this, the dragon says that she can be cunning. The main character claims that at least she is cunning enough to understand that Lord Rebus has a backup plan. Dragon asks if she thinks that holy creatures are on the same level as human beings. Elaine replies that since he is a holy creature, she is sure that he will be able to understand her desire to handle these desires carefully. The main character says that the dragon is not so bad. However, it is important for her that the girl again has to live in the mansion of Count Newt until she is sent to the monastery. Elaine thinks that today is her 16th birthday, and she will enter the temple next March. However, she must be noble because she still has a year and a half to leave this place. Suddenly, the girl thought that she needed to wash the blood off her body before they entered the mansion. Because she remembered what happened last time, when her cousin Ellie was scared by the sight of blood on her forehead and her aunt reprimanded her. The main character remembers that her aunt did not punish anyone who hurt her. The dragon invites the girl to go inside the mansion, and at that time she noticed that the Lord Rebus healed her. The blackbird explains that because the girl is so shocked by something so insignificant, and he thinks she will have to learn what it means to be bound by a contract with a dragon. The main character thanks the blackbird. Elaine thinks that at least she is cunning enough to realize that Lord Rebus has a backup plan. At the same time, the dragon thought that it looked like he hadn't changed the backup plan in the first place. However, at first, the big bird had a simple plan. After all, after being released from the cage, he had to wipe this empire off the face of the earth, because the plan changed once he met Elaine nude. The dragon felt in her the half of his heart that he gave to one Lancer Aquinal almost 500 years ago. In other words, Elaine nude is the reincarnation of his first contracted one, the only person he trusted. And that time, the traitor who sealed him is Archmage Lancer Aquinal. The dragon understands that once he is freed from the seal, he will first take his mana core and the half of his heart that he gave to Lancer. And only after that will he destroy the entire empire, because he has been hatching this plan for 500 years. Rebus, when he got out of the egg at that time, could not find his core. But he was also released after a long imprisonment. The dragon understands that he cannot continue like this because he must restore his strength even if he has to use another. After all, the blackbird spent the next 10 years searching for the source of another power. However, it was fast compared to the amount of time he lived in the seal. Rebus knew it would be difficult to cleanse himself of the magic he had absorbed, but he was so consumed with his revenge that he gave no thought to the future. And when he had grown a little stronger through a short burden, the dragon told the empire of its impending doom. Having seen his victim, the dragon gave them 3 days to watch humans fight among themselves. However, they decided to try human sacrifice for the first time in 500 years. However, this may be a sign of the fall of their civilization. Rebus, having met the girl with the mark, he could not even think that he would live long enough to see such a thing. Because that scoundrel Lancer would once again be the one who freed him. Lancer Aquinal is a man who people put on a pedestal, calling him a legendary archmage. However, to the dragon, he is nothing more than a vile person who betrayed his trust. The world knows Lancer as a man who was originally a witch in persecution, as she made a contract with the dragon right before being burned at the stake. To fulfill the witch's wish to live as a mage, Lancer Aquinal the dragon gave her a part of his mana core, which is his heart, and transformed her into a man. However, despite everything Rebus did for her, Lancer eventually used a seal spell on him. However, the dragon was not going to put up with this. He dreamed of when he was freed. They would meet again. Rebus, when he was imprisoned, he was able to use the curse of reincarnation on him. However, he could not imagine that his reincarnation would become bound to him by a contract and appear as her sacrifice. The dragon thought that she would be surprised to see him. He was sure that he would ridicule the witch for everything. The big bird tried to make the witch remember by talking about the stages of the seal's destruction, but Lancer's reincarnation really didn't remember anything. Rebus thought that it might be for the best if this cunning bastard remembered his previous life. Then he could use the contract powers to mock him. The blackbird is sure that Lancer is his sworn enemy, but since he has no choice but to grant his wish, the dragon thought of returning his memories after granting his last wish. He will take revenge by taking his core in the most brutal way possible. The dragon could cleanse its magic by going back in time before it absorbed the other, and restore the missing energy by returning its core. Rebus, when he went back in time and hatched from the egg, thought that she looked just like Lancer when he first met her. The dragon thought that the second wish would be to kill people, and it would be easier than he thought. However, upon hearing this, the girl refused even when the dragon said that he would kill them as a gift. The young lady surprised him by saying that she would raise Rebus as a good dragon. The blackbird does not understand because these guys constantly hurt her and cause serious damage. However, she did not intend to kill them. The dragon can't understand the girl. I think it could be a side effect of the curse of reincarnation. And apparently, she was supposed to be born feeble-minded. Rebus is genuinely concerned that the girl might die before she can say her last wish. Since it is a law of nature that the weak die early, this will be problematic for his contract. However, if the person bound to the dragon dies a natural death before naming all the wishes, then the contract is canceled. If it is an untimely death, then the contract will continue to be valid. The dragon will have to fulfill the remaining wish after the person's reincarnation. Rebus ponders what it means if the girl dies first. He will have to wait even longer to meet Lancer's third incarnation, because the very idea scares him. The dragon decided to watch the young lady until she says her last wish, and to watch her just a little bit. Entering the room, the dragon became interested in where they are now. The girl says that this room is her room. Surprised, Rebus asks the lady if she is laughing at him. The girl replies that she hasn't even started yet. The dragon informs the girl that he should know that he can use his human form before being imprisoned, because Rebus lived as a human and learned many things about the human world. The blackbird speaks of how common people live, but I have never seen the nobility live in such a stuffy room. Elaine understands what the dragon is talking about and tells him that she is not an ordinary noblewoman. However, she will not go hungry today, and all thanks to him. The blackbird doesn't understand and asks what she's talking about. The young lady explains that in her past life, she missed dinner because she let the others see her in the red liquid. Taking advantage of the moment, the dragon asks the girl again if she is sure that she does not want to kill those people they met earlier. The lady replies that she is sure because she already said so. Rebus asks her again if she is sure that he is not trying to act like a saint. The girl replies that she is unlikely, because she is a saint because she simply says that she should not kill other people for any reason. The dragon claims that he feels she doesn't fully understand and offers to show her how she can borrow his powers. Elaine is surprised and doesn't understand what he is talking about. The blackbird explains that it is quite simple and suggests closing her eyes and casting the spell while thinking about him. And then his powers will sleep in her, and she will gradually discover the limits of what the girl can and cannot do. Surprised, Elaine asks if he can just let her borrow his power, since it could devalue the 3 wishes. The dragon replies that all people are the same since they immediately jump to strange conclusions. Rebus calms the girl down and tells her not to worry because she can only use a tiny fraction of his powers, and she will understand this immediately after using it, as soon as she tries it. Elaine casts a spell, and at that moment she thinks about the dragon. The guys who wounded the girl don't understand why she doesn't have the wound they saw. The guy asks what happened, because he saw Elaine when she picked up dinner and her forehead looked like she never had that wound. The young man suggests that he might have missed it this time, but next time he will make sure he hits her exactly. Overheard the boys talking, Lars asks them what they would like to throw next time. The worried young man replies that nothing special, since they wanted to know who would throw the stones further. However, Lars claims that he heard the boy talking about making sure he hits someone. He offers to tell his younger brother what happened. However, the young man says that it all happened because of Elaine, who behaved very impudently, although she is a disgrace to their family. The girl says that she should be noble, but Elaine is impudent and Martin taught her a lesson. Lars stares at the guy and asks what he meant by lesson, that he threw something and hit Elaine. Damon justifies himself and says that it was just a small rock and honestly it didn't even hurt her. The older brother claims that Martin is an adult and asks him when he will start behaving appropriately. He asks what his father and mother will think when they hear rumors about his bad behavior. Lars suggests that Damon remember that his younger brother and sister are watching his actions and suggests that he be stricter with himself. Lars thinks that he will be angry if Elaine comes to his room again. However, in front of everyone, she is silent and looks at the floor. Since the girl often comes to his room and mutters something under her breath, however, she does not snitch or complain about everything around, and he will simply continue to ignore her. The guy never understood why everyone reacts so violently when it comes to Elaine. How much do they have to pretend that I'm not here? Lars thinks that today was a hard day, and when the girl comes, he will send her away. The main character, being in her room under the influence of magic, feels as if she can do anything. The dragon asks her if she understands what amazing powers these are, and suggests the girl to think about what she would like to do right now. Elaine thought about eating freshly baked white bread and hot soup with meat. Hearing this, the dragon was surprised. After all, for him, this seems absurd, and he cannot believe that such a feeble-minded trifle is connected with his contract. The young lady objects and says that she is not feeble-minded. She is just very hungry and wants to eat. However, she suggests that this desire be forgotten. Rebus agrees and says that it is better than being a cunning swindler. He offers the girl something to eat and apologizes for not being able to turn it into something better. The main character thought that Lord Rebus was very upset. She thought that she wished for something very ordinary, and next time she would have to think about something more serious. Suddenly, the girl saw freshly baked bread and soup on the table. Elaine asked in surprise what had happened. The dragon replied that even he could not create something out of thin air, but he could remake existing things into something similar. He explained that these things could be called transfiguration. Rebus explains that if there was anything in the soup, he would have transformed it into meat, but there is nothing. The girl tastes the soup and says that it is very tasty because it is creamy, and she has not eaten white bread for so long. After tasting all this, the young lady thought that she was going to cry. The dragon happily says that transfigurations are amazing magic and asks if the girl agrees. Elaine replies that Lord Rebus is the greatest dragon in the world. The pleased dragon states that she now understands it. The young lady ate so deliciously for the first time in many years, and looking at the dragon asks him how he grew so quickly into an adult dragon in just 10 years. Rebus replies that she should not lower dragons to the level of other animals, since to them an egg is just a shell that contains their souls. Since their size and shape change as needed, they are not bound by their age. Elaine states that means he can stay in his baby dragon form. Rebus says that he can not only be in baby dragon form, but also in human form. The girl wondered what he would look like in human form. Hearing this, the dragon replies that if you look at the fact that many people like his appearance, he probably looks quite exciting. Hearing this, the young lady was very surprised and said that perhaps he wanted to say that he looked attractive, not exciting. Rebus asks if it is not the same thing. Elaine explains that just because he thinks a person is beautiful doesn't mean the dragon wants to make love to him. Rebus asks that in her past life she wanted to see someone specific as her mate. Hearing this, the girl objects, and the dragon looks at her and claims that the lady is lying. Surprised, Elaine asks Rebus if he can recognize lies. The girl tells him that she liked someone. The dragon asks the lady if the man was handsome. The girl replies that he was handsome. However, she liked him not only because of his appearance, because she thought the guy was handsome and she did not let her thoughts develop further. Blackbird asks curiously how it ended. Elaine says that he was the only person from the Newt family who did not offend her. The guy never drove her away, even if she walked around him like a fool. This guy turned out to be a cold young man who was graceful and elegant in every way. He was so strong and unlike her, so majestic and full of confidence. The girl remembered the last minutes when she saw him and remembered that he told her that he was glad because the girl would become a part of something grand. And at this time, the main character realized that she meant nothing to the guy. The surprised dragon asks if she wants to say that the feelings the girl had for him were just one-sided sympathy. The lady confirms his words. Rebus claims that it is quite difficult for him to understand human one-sided sympathy. The girl asks what he is talking about. The dragon claims that she must hide her feelings in front of someone, but the other person is not obliged to respond to them. And the girl builds her expectations about the answer from him. The dragon asks if it is humane to treat another person. The girl, confused, says that it may be. The black bird asks again if she has tried the mating dance that birds do. Rebus saw that the girl did not understand anything and explained that in any case, he was asking whether Elena had confessed to this man that she liked him. The young lady replies that she couldn't do it because there are also a lot of people in the world who hide their true feelings. The dragon says that the more they talk about it, the stranger it gets. Rebus claims that he does not have much knowledge about human relationships, and therefore he is sure that the girl is right. Upon hearing this, the lady replies that this is not so, because the Lord said everything correctly. Elaine says that it is just one-sided love. However, she hoped that the guy would be able to answer her and was disappointed when she realized everything. The girl understands that all this happened because she was arrogant and did not know her place. When the dragon saw the girl crying, he tried to calm her down because that was not what he had in mind. The worried lady claims that she is even grateful because she realized it. However, she does not want to repeat that mistake again. Suddenly, the blackbird had an idea, and he asked the lady if he should make this guy fall in love with the girl. The main character heard this and asked if the dragon could control the human mind. The Lord replied that he could teach her the art of seduction with magic. The girl did not understand what he was talking about and asked if the dragon wanted to say that she should seduce Lars with magic. Rebus replies that this is what seduction is used for. However, first he suggests that the girl stop crying. Elaine realizes that the dragon was worried about her. The main character claims that she doesn't need to learn this magic because it's pointless to try to make Lars her boyfriend. Since her feelings for him have long since passed, the surprised dragon asks who this man Lars is. The perfect lady answers that it is not so important because she would rather know why the blackbird does not like people so much. The girl assumes that the magician who sealed him is to blame. Rebus says that this story is a different matter altogether. However, of all the people he has met, there is not one whom he would call decent. The worried girl asks him what he thinks of her. The dragon looks at the girl and says that everything is fine with the young people. The blackbird claims that the older people get, the more unprincipled they become. The main character agrees with him because there are people who have no conscience since childhood, and these people are the cousins who live with her. Elaine remembers the people from the monastery who bullied her, and Lorena, who was heartbroken by her death, as she had deeply despised her since childhood. The young lady, holding the bird in her hands, claims that she will do everything possible to help him overcome his hatred of humans. The dragon suggests that she try, and the girl presses him to her chest, hugging him. However, Rebus does not like hugging and pushes the girl away from him. The worried lady says that if he is uncomfortable, and that is why she apologized. Elaine never thought that scales could be so soft. The dragon thought for a moment and agreed to remain in the young lady's arms. She thought about what was nice and very sweet and kissed the dragon on the forehead. The surprised bird asks what it was. The main character explains that a kiss on the forehead or cheek is considered a sign of closeness in humans. Upon hearing this, the bird asks if the girl thinks they are close. Elaine replies that not yet, but she would like them to be close. The dragon reasons that there is a contract between them, and he does not think that there are people with whom he will be closer than with the girl. However, Rebus liked the lady, and he offers to hug him and kiss him again. He asks the girl to continue stroking him. Elaine enjoyed doing this. Meanwhile, Lars, sitting in his bed, thinks about why Elaine didn't come. However, suddenly someone knocked on the door, and the young gentleman invited them in. The door opened, and the servant reported that Mr. Lars had not locked the door before going to bed. The boy did not close the door because he thought that Elaine might come. But since he could not tell the servant this, he simply replied that he had forgotten to close the door. Lars thought that he hoped Martin hadn't lied when he said that there was nothing serious, since everything should be fine, and with these thoughts, the young gentleman calmed himself. In the morning, the gentleman, reading the newspaper at breakfast, talks about how he thinks the new head of the Favelo temple is quite capable, since he has greatly expanded his monastery during his 10 years in office. After his appointment, Johann Favelo turned the entire temple upside down with his reforms and found a 500-year-old urn with bones containing the remains of the Archmage Lancer Aquinal in the monastery's basement. The magic of the seal of the unholy dragon has weakened because they have not honored and cared for the relics of Archmage Lancer Aquinal enough. The priest informs the emperor that if this happens, the dragon will break free and bring destruction to the entire empire. Favelo's statement created the feeling that the dragon could be released at any moment, and he was able to instill this fear in the emperor's heart. Thanks to such efforts, the monastery strengthened its position as a privileged temple at the imperial court and acquired many privileges. Because in addition to everything, the Favelo temple took advantage of the desire of noble families to outdo each other and set a fashion for belief. Lars thinks about the fact that the monastery is now one of the most populated. He wonders how many noble children will be sent there next year. Going to a monastery is a common practice in the Kalai Empire, where religion is not the last place. To demonstrate their piety, each noble family sends a child to the temple to serve. If it is a young man, then he is called a holy brother. If a girl, then a holy sister. Such children carry the emblem of the believers. They come to the temple at 15 or 17 years of age and can return home only after reaching 20 years of age. Lars thinks that it is quite possible that Damon will go to the monastery from their family. Since excluding his heir of the family as well as Martin, who will be too old for this, and Ellie, the only daughter of the family, the young master hopes that Damon will spend most of his time at the monastery building personal connections. However, at times like these, he feels that Elaine would be more suited to that role. At least she is smarter than the other children. Lars thinks about it because he thinks her parents despise the fact of her existence. However, he does not think that it is necessary because they have Elaine who is beautiful and smart. Because they must marry her off for the future benefit of their family. The gentleman reasons that if with the right jewelry and makeup, the girl will quickly achieve a reputation as a beauty in high society. Therefore, they should educate her and marry her to a decent man. Lars thinks that it might be a bit late, but Elaine should appear in high society around the next year. However, the father and mother might not agree with this, but he is sure that the girl will be more valuable on the marriage market than Ellie. The young gentleman reflects that when Elaine comes to see him, he will give her some chocolate. Entering the room, the dragon asks the young lady what kind of place she brought him to. The girl replies that it is the place where she lived with her mother when she was still alive. Elaine explains that they came here because the girl suddenly remembered her, but she didn't expect the room to be so clean. Rebus looks around the room and says that he thinks that a person was held hostage in this room. He asks the girl why they were locked up and if her mother is a criminal. The young lady reports that her mother was the illegitimate child of her grandfather. And everything was fine while the grandfather was alive, but after his death and the transfer of power into the hands of his uncle, they lived in suffering. The dragon asks in surprise why, because he hated her because they had different mothers. The girl says that it would be better if it was simple hatred, because it is still scary to remember the uncle from those times. The main character remembers how her uncle pestered her mother and said that she was his destiny, and he realized this as soon as her father brought her here. Mom explained to him that they were brother and sister, but he did not want to hear anything. The dragon heard this and said that she had a nasty uncle and he couldn't believe it. Elaine said that she actually agreed with him. Rebus asked the girl if she lied. The young lady says that her mother was not her grandfather's real daughter. Instead, her grandfather bought her from a village where witches live. The old man wanted to use magic in the family business, and so he brought her witch mother home. The girl reports that he often used her mother's magic for his own purposes and called her his daughter to make it easier to take her everywhere with him. However, her mother did not tell her what exactly she was doing. Elaine says she only knows that she was haunted by endless feelings of guilt and shame. But the thought that with the money she received each month, her mother could have supported her family back home. Mom couldn't go against Grandpa's orders. The dragon heard this and asked if she was related to the Newt family by blood. The girl replied that in the end, no one could find out the whole truth. Since Grandpa died suddenly due to a carriage collision, Uncle never learned from Grandpa how things really were. And Mom asked her never to tell this truth, because the mere fact that she was a witch could cause bad things to happen to her. Elaine claims that the only thing the 7-year-old could do was to keep the truth a secret and live in the Newt family without showing any signs of life. After all, now that her mother is gone, and if the Newt family disowns her, Elaine has nowhere to go. Rebus asks the girl if her mother told her who her father is, and if the lady doesn't think it would be better if she found her father and lived with him than to live like this. The main character answers that her mother never told her anything about her father, and she reasons that perhaps she was afraid that her uncle would find him and kill him. That's why she kept her father's identity a secret even from her. The girl says that if her uncle had started threatening her at such a young age, she could have told him everything. However, there was no need to create unnecessary drama, as it was enough of a tragedy that she was born. The dragon asks the lady what is tragic about her birth. Elaine replies that her mother was originally a healthy woman, but after her birth, she became very weak, and that's why her uncle hates her. As he told her, not only was she born from God knows who, but she also killed her own mother. Upon hearing this, the dragon says that the uncle is a great storyteller. He asks what kind of brat is he who blames a child for the death of his own mother. However, Rebus claims that if it were not for her, her mother would have died even faster, since she would have simply committed suicide. The dragon claims that her mother lived only for her daughter. He came closer to the girl and asked what was more important, if she was okay. Elaine replies that she still feels pain just thinking about her mother, because she always remembers her mother being sick. The girl says that she came here and felt a little sad because of the clear memories of her childhood. Rebus asks the lady if that is why she came here, and her sadness is that she misses her mother. The main character objects, answering the question, and explains that she came here to remember the suffering of that day. The girl says that she thought that if she does not want to repeat her misfortune, then she needs to know specifically what tormented her and why she experienced such emotions, so that later she can overcome them. The young lady, remembering her uncle's words about her killing her own mother by giving birth, because he had been torturing her with these words since she was 7 years old. However, the girl claims that after the dragon's words, she thought that she no longer had to worry, and thanks to Mr. Rebus, she felt better. And she thanked the dragon. The blackbird claims that there is no need to thank for ordinary words because he is already tired of it. The girl looks at the dragon and says that she thinks he was worried about her all the time. She smiles and says that she knew he wasn't evil. Suddenly, the dragon heard someone coming and told the girl about it. The young lady was scared because she would be scolded severely if they found out that she had entered the room. Rebus calmed the girl down and offered to hide them on their own. A few minutes later, the uncle entered the room and said that it would be necessary to clean up here. Elaine saw her uncle go to the closet and take the clothes that her mother had been wearing. She didn't even know that these clothes had been there all along. Uncle takes mother's clothes and puts them to his face, saying Marielle's name. He says that he should have gotten rid of this homeless girl despite her resistance, because she was supposed to die, not Marielle. Uncle remembers how much he wanted her to be his. Hearing this, Elaine was very surprised because she guessed that her uncle wanted to finish her off. The dragon offers the girl to look at him and asks if he should finish this guy off. The girl doesn't answer, but she looks sad, and the dragon asks her how much longer she can pretend to be an angel, because the death of such types will make it easier to breathe on Earth. Hearing this, Elaine replies that it is wrong to kill people. Hearing this, the dragon laughs and claims that the deceased would never want this. Suddenly, my mother's dress in my uncle's hands began to fall apart into pieces, and in a few minutes it was completely gone. Let's go out. My uncle went to the closet, but as it turned out, all of my mother's things had disappeared. The surprised man does not understand what happened, and he began to scream his mother's name. But he did not find anyone in the room. The uncle again went to blame someone. The main character thought that a person cannot change, because the uncle began to shout at the servants in rage and blame them for not being able to do their job. He, screaming, asks how clothes can change in just 10 years. The worried maid asks if the master is talking about the dress that is in the closet. However, the maid claims that it was fine yesterday. The uncle, turning to the maid, asks her if she wants to tell him that he is lying to her, and tells her to leave and check it herself. Seeing all this, the young lady, claiming that because of them, the maids are now being scolded. The dragon says that this is why he suggested finishing him off, since killing is not difficult. Hearing this, Elaine thought that Rebus was originally an evil dragon who wanted to destroy the entire country. However, the problems of humans seemed pitiful to him, and the girl thought that she thought it would be easy to complete her mission, but it has become more difficult now. Hearing a rumbling in her stomach, the main character says she is hungry. The dragon says that every time around this time, a strange sound comes from her stomach. He asks if it is because she is hungry. The girl objects and says no. And hearing this, the dragon says that they have problems because it means that the lady is in pain somewhere. Elaine says that dinner was just recently, but she is already hungry. Rebus asks the girl if she thinks it's because the portion was too small. The lady thinks about it and agrees with him. The dragon asks if they're deliberately giving her less food. The main character remembers how her uncle's wife knocked a plate out of her hands and also accused the girl of giving her too much food because she throws it away. Elaine thought that at the time, she had thought that she had done something serious. However, she now knew that adults should not behave that way towards children. However, if the young lady had lived and tried to live only by what she was given, she would have certainly died and more than once. After all, she did not die and continued to live. The dragon heard someone coming again and told the girl about it. The lady came to the door and Rebus asked her if she wanted to open it without even asking who was there. He heard knocks and counting their number. The girl said that she knew who was behind the door. Opening the door, the main character saw a maid who was worried about her and brought her dinner. Emily's maid is the reason why the girl did not die of starvation as a child. Emily, entering the girl's room, offers her to eat potatoes that she cooked 2 days ago, and therefore needs to be eaten quickly. The main character remembered the maid for a long time, even after she got to the temple. Emily was the only one who cared for her, although Elaine was ignored even by the maids. At first, the maid could do nothing for her, and was just there. However, after she gained experience and was promoted to the position of a maid in the kitchen, Emily began to help her and bring the remaining food so that the young lady would not die of hunger. However, when this came to the attention of the head maid, Emily was punished and kicked out of the mansion without a letter of recommendation for theft. The young lady tells Elaine that the maid's father is a drunkard, and she did not refuse his money, and so he sold his daughter to a bar. And now her life as a woman has come to an end, because when she is sold to a brothel, it is only a matter of time. The young lady asks the main character if she thinks it was because of whom this happened. At this time, Emily's maid asks the intended young lady how she has been doing lately. The worried girl replies that everything is as usual. The maid asks Elaine if she feels like she has a cold. The girl replies that she gets sick very rarely and feels fine at this time. Emily, hearing this, says that she is happy for her because the girl did not catch the cold from others. The maid suggests that the young lady cover herself with a blanket because the room is very drafty. However, Elaine, looking at Emily, clearly remembers the shock and despair when she heard that the maid had been fired, and she wanted to find her immediately. But this search was useless because Elaine could not change anything. The protagonist reflects on how things are different now. She turns to Emily and says that she relied on her too much until now. However, she thanks Emily. The surprised maid replies that she did nothing wrong. Elaine says that now she does not have to bring her food. Hearing this, Emily asks worriedly why she orders it this way. The young lady explains that the head maid will be watching her, but perhaps she already knows that Emily brings her food. The main character explains that she just has a premonition and tells the maid not to come anymore. The surprised maid does not understand what she did wrong. However, Elaine explains to her that she is fine and will be even better in the future, because perhaps next year, she will be sent to the temple on behalf of the Newt family. Emily looks at the lady and asks if it is true. The main character answers that it is true, but since it is not yet certain, she asks the maid not to tell anyone about it. The maid says worriedly that it is still a long time before the period of admission to the temple. The girl replies that until then, one must be careful. However, if Emily is punished because of her, the girl will be very upset. The maid calms her mistress and asks if she can be punished for such an insignificant matter. Elaine asks Emily to do as she asks, and she will not pretend that they do not know each other. The main character says that she will never forget her. Emily, turning to the lady, says that since she so insistently asks, the maid will fulfill her request. Emily says that if the lady needs her help, then let her leave a candle by the window. The maid says that she will then come to her room as quickly as possible. Elaine agrees with the girl and says that they have come to an agreement. The dragon asks the girl who this person is, because this girl seems good to him in comparison with the other inhabitants of this house. The young lady reports that Emily's maid is the only one who helped her. However, the main character regrets that she could not protect her in the past. And this time, she is sure that everything will be the other way around. Elaine asks Rebus if there is any way. Hearing this, the dragon replies that for him it is as easy as pie. And it is so simple that it cannot be considered a wish. The dragon claims that he will not read the protection of this maid for the wish. However, in exchange, the main character must fulfill his request. Elaine is interested in the question of the request. Rebus says that next year, when the girl gets to the temple, she will need to find something and bring it to him. The surprised lady asks what he is talking about. The dragon thought about the chest, but nevertheless claims that he will tell about it when they are there. At this time, Count Newt and his son arrived at Mrs. Hebron's mansion and greeted each other happily. Mrs. Sasha Hebron is the Emperor's mistress. Sitting at the table, Mr. Nude reports that her living room has changed since last time. The lady asks if they like it because she decorated the living room with her home in mind. Mr. Nude says that everything is done with very good taste and it is clear that the lady had a hand in it. The gentleman says that he thinks that His Majesty will often visit her estate. Sasha replies that she is still very far from Mrs. Newt. Lars's father tells his son as they ride in the carriage that Sasha Hebron was an ordinary flower seller. However, 20 years have passed since she attracted the emperor and became his mistress. Lars asks how the mistress has maintained her position for so long. Father replies that the emperor and empress are in a marriage of convenience, and that is why Sasha has managed to capture the Emperor's heart and is holding on to it very well. The son claims that she is not an ordinary woman, and the father objects and says that she is not that special. As soon as Sasha entered the capital's social circles, she immediately became the queen of society. Since she was at the level of the aristocracy and unquestioningly followed the instructions of the Empress, she earned herself a good reputation. The woman turned out to be very cunning. Her son Abel, who is the son of a mistress, was able to enter the palace, and this is an indicator of all of Sasha's tricks. However, the throne belongs to her daughter, Empress Aeneas, because they don't know it. But when Abel enters the palace after the death of the Empress, his ascension to the throne will only be a matter of time. After all, Sasha is the Emperor's favorite and will be next to him. Mr. Newt explains to his son that this is why their family cannot break ties with Hebron, because this woman will provide them with power, and she will be the new power of their country, which controls the heir to the throne. Sasha thanks the Newt family for the stones she was given for her birthday. The woman asks if this was his wife's choice. The gentleman confirms her words. The mistress says that every time she thanks fate for friendship with such wonderful people, because in their time it is very difficult to find a person who can be trusted, and for her, a person like Nude is very important. Lars's father agrees with the lady, and he says that recently groundless rumors have been spreading even in the company of noble gentlemen. The surprised woman asks who dares to say something bad. The gentleman replies that he is talking about Count Armand, since he always accidentally tries to insert something about Princess Anais, and the gentleman heard this, he says that it makes him sick. Sasha asks if this is true. As far as she heard, recently Count Armand's wife had a tea party with His Highness the Princess. The Count replies that it was most likely the princess's plan to lure the Count to her side, since the Count had recently begun to make good profits from the mining industry. The Emperor's mistress says that she thinks Princess Aeneas is in a hurry because she has started to win people over to her side. The gentleman agrees with the woman and asks about who currently has the imperial spirit and the support of many aristocrats. And at the same time, he gives an answer to his question by naming Prince Abel. Sasha heard this and thanked him for such words, and said that she and her son were still far from such a status. Mr. Newt reassures the woman you tell her not to worry because he will help them. The Emperor's mistress says that she feels calm in this case and asks him if she can ask for a favor. Lars's father agrees. The woman asks if he knows that she likes precious stones, because she perceives them as a work of art, and she heard that the gentleman knows a lot about them. Sasha asks Mr. Nuda to let her visit their family vault. After all, she would like to see a very rare and valuable magical dragon stone. Hearing this, Lars's father was very surprised and asked the woman how she knew about this. The Emperor's mistress says that this is not a secret since all collectors of these stones know about it. The surprised gentleman says that he understands, but he does not know what to say. Nude says that he is very sorry, but he cannot show the lady this stone now. Interested, Sasha says that she feels like she asked for something inappropriate and therefore asks for forgiveness. Hearing this, Mr. Nude assures the woman that everything is not so since this stone is now lost. The woman worriedly asks if he disappeared and how. Lars's father explains that the former count lost his mind before his death and for this reason, but suddenly Lars stopped his father and thus did not allow him to continue the story. Mr. Nude says that in general, this is not the most pleasant story of their family, and therefore asks the woman for forgiveness for not being able to tell everything in detail. Sasha says that it must be very hard for the gentleman to lose such a rare stone, and she wishes for them to find their family heirloom. Nude claims that as soon as they find this stone, they will immediately invite her. Hearing this, the woman thanked him. After a while, Sasha enters the room and Malik screams and says that there is trouble. The man asks her what made such a beautiful face frown. The woman screams and tells him that Count Newt's dragonstone is missing, and she would have found out how it disappeared if it weren't for his son, who stopped his father mid-sentence. The red-haired man says that the head of the family is stupid, and that is why his son follows him everywhere as a spy. He calms the woman down and suggests that she not get angry because everything will play into their hands. The surprised woman asks what exactly. However, she thinks that he needs this stone. The red-haired man agrees with her and says that it is needed and says that they think that they have lost their stone, and this means that whoever finds it can take it for themselves. The worried woman says that this will only happen if they find it first. The red-haired man is sure that this stone is definitely in the Newt's house. Because this strong energy is still clearly felt, Sasha is worried and does not understand under what pretext to enter this place and start searching even if the stone is there. The man claims that it would be good to find it without making too much noise. But if that doesn't work, he can always just kill everyone who lives there. The Emperor's mistress asks the red-haired man why he never told her why he needed the stone. However, she could have found him a million others. The man asks Sasha why she is interested in something that does not concern her. The lady answers that she is simply very sad, because she gave him the soul of her son Abel, and the man still does not trust her. Hearing this, the red-haired guy smiled and said that what charming thoughts visit her sweet head. He explains that the reason for his search is simple, and he only wants to become stronger. The man asks the lady if this answer will satisfy her. Sasha replies that he is the only person with dragon roots on this earth, and asks if there is anyone stronger than him. The red-haired man replies that this is not enough for him and asks if this is not good for her. He suggests that Sasha continue to help him as before. Then her wish will come true. The man reports that his lady is charming and is the one with whom he has a contract. At this time, in the Newt mansion, cleaning is in full swing. The surprised dragon asks the girl if guests are expected. The lady replies that apparently yes. Rebus looks at the tired girl and says that no one is watching her and asks why she doesn't ask him for help. The dragon claims that if she used his power, she would finish sooner. Elaine says if she finishes too quickly, she will be suspected. However, she does not understand why she would use his power for such a simple thing. The dragon claims that it makes sense. After all, if she feels sorry for using his powers for such a simple job, then perhaps the girl wants to become a queen with their help. Elaine claims that she does not want to become queen and heard the dragon screaming that she is hopeless, and this is a nightmare for him. Rebus reflects that even though the girl doesn't remember anything about her past life, the fact that Lancer's soul is within her remains unchanged. However, the dragon does not understand how the lady could change so much, because Lancer Aquinal was not like that. While Rebus was still sleeping in the egg, he remembered the voices of the dragons who were preparing to leave the human world. The number of people is growing rapidly, and they also continue to mercilessly destroy nature in order to extract resources. People also destroy each other and burn lands in order to increase the territories that belong to them. People no longer worship God or nature. The elder of the dragons proposes to end their existence with people. He gathered all the clans, and also the magic cores were scattered across the earth, after which they were ready to leave this land. However, at that moment, the egg that Rebus was in fell back into the human world. Previously, the dragons thought that Rebus's egg was flatter and much smaller than a normal egg, which led them to conclude that it would be unlikely to hatch. In the end, the dragons decided to abandon him and flew away themselves. For many years, Rebus was locked in the egg and traveled to many places studying people and the human world itself. During this time, the dragon managed to form well and become old enough to be able to be born. Conditions hatched from eggs not hatched by a mother dragon are suitable for removing the seal when concluding a contract with someone. Rebus had no choice but to wait for such an opportunity to come his way. One day, someone threw it at another person, and subsequently the red liquid and tears flowing from it fell on the egg. After which, at that moment, the conditions for removing the seal were met, which, it would seem, would never be met at all. The dragon was finally able to hatch with great pleasure, and he was seen by a girl who was tied to a pole. Seeing her, Rebus says that she is in a rather strange situation and suggests that she start with the most important thing. The dragon claims that the girl has become his contractor, and therefore she can make any 3 wishes. He suggests that she quickly make her first wish. Otherwise, at this rate, she will die. The excited girl asked him to save her. Rebus heard this and asked if she would be happy with him just saving her. The dragon offered to add another point to her wish. The black-haired girl, looking at the people who were screaming and waving, tells the dragon to finish off the villagers. Hearing this, Rebus says that he likes it and will gladly fulfill her first wish. The villagers noticed that the fire suddenly went out, and they thought that it was all the work of a witch who decided to do one last trick before her death. The people decided to throw stones at her as soon as possible. At this time, the dragon appeared to people who saw him as a monster. Rebus says that they are stupid creatures and should be grateful for the fact that they were lucky enough to behold him before their miserable death. After some time, the dragon asks the girl if she is happy that her wish came true. Rebus asks the little man what her next wish will be. The girl replies that she wants to become so strong that no one else would be able to harm her. She offers to make her the greatest magician in the entire empire. The surprised dragon asks if in this empire the title of magician is not awarded to men. The lady says that in cases where women have such power, they are immediately called witches. And also after it turns out that they are witches, they are immediately burned at the stake. Surprised, Rebus asks if the girl is a witch. And how did they know about her weak mana that she is a witch? The girl replies that she was not caught by them at all, but they immediately simply called her a witch. And all this happened because there was a plague in the village, and she, being poor and not eating food at all, was able to avoid getting infected. The dragon offers to change her gender completely to male. The girl says that all she needs is for others to accept her as a man. However, she doesn't really want to become a man. Rebus claims that as a woman, she will have to pretend to be a man all her life, and he asks if she is sure that she wants this. The girl replies that she would rather live the rest of her life pretending to be a man than live as a woman who will not even be able to start a family. The dragon used his magic and transformed the girl. He said that from now on, in the eyes of other people, she would look like a man. However, he only had a problem with Mana. Rebus realized that she was quite smart, because turning her into a powerful mage meant that she would eventually become stronger than any mage on this land, having such a huge magical power. Even if, as a result, the dragon can no longer fulfill his wishes, she will be able to do it herself. Rebus claims that he really liked the little man, and so he is ready to give him part of his mana core so that she can become stronger than any mage on this earth. The surprised magician asks what it is, and the dragon explains that it is his heart, which he is going to separate a piece from and give to him. The bird asks if she knows that the dragon's heart is the essence of mana. He explains that by receiving just a piece of his heart, the girl can become the greatest mage in the empire. The interested mage asks if it is possible to do so. The dragon asks what he is talking about. The man explains that Rebus had previously mentioned that he planned to give him a piece of his heart, and asks if it will hurt him. Hearing this, the dragon smiled and said that it sounded funny, and he reassured the magician so that he would not worry, since the bird would only take a piece of his heart, and it would not harm him in any way. Rebus, he claims that at the moment when he dares to betray the bird, a part of its core will return to him in the most useless way for the magician. Surprised Witch agrees with the dragon. At that time, Rebus says that he never thought that he would give a piece of his core to a person. However, nothing terrible will happen because it seems to him that this magician is a very nice and good person. Rebus, watching the girl, thinks about what a cute, obedient dog she is. Lancer was a very smart person, and his contractor took the name Lancer Aquinal. However, after doing only 1 or 2 successful missions, her name became famous among people. During the drought, Lancer filled the village's dried-up wells and dealt with the bandits who were making life difficult for the common people. In addition, she took on the task of extinguishing forest fires that people without magic could not extinguish for 3 whole days. However, Lancer was not only busy helping people all the time, she also took on missions for money, in which it was necessary to eliminate unwanted or simply interfering people. Having finally earned herself a good reputation, the witch received great fame and a serious mission from the emperor. She later became the imperial magician. The dragon reasons that Lancer always had a lot of interesting things going on. That's why even he was afraid that when the witch would soon make her last wish, he would no longer be able to be with her. However, looking at the lady who was cleaning the floor, Rebus thought that this girl was far from being the case, since he could still forget the look with which she asked to finish off all the villagers. The dragon reasons that unlike Elaine now, she was quite resourceful and very interesting. Remembering the witch's eyes, the bird thinks about how happy she was with such a request. Elaine was Lancer's reincarnation who was going through the same hardships she had then. However, unlike her, Elaine did not want to take revenge on the people who wanted to kill her. The dragon thought that it could be because of the influence exerted in the temple. The young lady asks Rebus if he is bored. He replies that if she is truly sorry and suggests that they finish cleaning quickly. The girl says that she is almost done as she has a little left. Suddenly, her cousins run into the hall, trampling around in the clean climate in their muddy shoes. Damon, addressing Elaine, says that guests will arrive very soon and asks the girl what she is doing here. The guy offers to look at the dirty stairs and asks why she is not doing anything, and at the same time called her a lazy woman who is not capable of anything. The angry dragon says that they are at it again and asks the girl if she wants him to push them down the stairs. Cousin says they will tell Mom because Elaine didn't clean the stairs properly. Martin says the girl always does her work in a botched manner, and at the same time calling the girl a useless idiot who does nothing and is lazy. Elaine looks at her cousins, confused. Damon asks her why she is holding back her tears and if she feels like crying. The guy suggests not holding back and crying. The young lady actually cried after hearing these words. The girl thought that when she was little, she had not noticed that they behaved like little children, although they had long since grown up. However, now that she had grown up, Their once terrible threats and teasing no longer touched her in any way. Elaine says she wants to ask them something. She asks if they waited until she finished work for this purpose, and if they were following her. The main character explains that she felt someone's eyes at the entrance, and when she went to change the water, she noticed out of the corner of her eye that they were watching her. The girl says that guests should arrive very soon, but apparently the cousins were more worried about her than about them. Surprised, Damon asks Elaine what kind of impudent speech she dares to make. However, if we admit it, it is not so at all. The main character, looking at them, asks why they still haven't changed their dirty clothes and taken a bath. Elaine asks if they have much free time. After all, the cousins even decided to abandon the work assigned to them in order to torment others for fun. Damon screams, saying how dare she say that, and kicks the girl with all his might. The dragon, seeing this, quickly uses magic to make the fall softer, and the girl didn't even feel any pain. The maids ask where the young master and young mistress ran off to, because the bath is ready, which they need to take and change their clothes. The boys heard their names being called, and one of them turned to Elaine and said that she was just lucky. The main character turns to the dragon and thanks him for his help, because if it weren't for him, the girl could have died, falling from such a height. Rebus claims that he does not understand anything she is talking about. He asks in surprise why the girl never asked to finish them off. After all, they could cross the border again, like now. The worried lady replies that everything is not as he thinks. The surprised dragon asks if they will die without her help. After all, they are sick with something or maybe an accident. The girl says that they can't do that because they are still children. The surprised bird asks what it means and what difference it makes. Elaine explains that they are still young and do not understand what they are doing. The cousins think that it is normal to bully her, and that their parents, who raised them that way, are responsible for it. Rebus claims that the largest of them is a year older than Elaine, and asks if it is time for him to understand the essence of things at his age. The girl explains that they were raised by blowing dust off them, and therefore their age does not mean anything at all. Hearing this, the bird says that it really pisses him off and irritates him. Elaine says that all this is nonsense because worse things await her in the future, and therefore she must take heart and not waste her energy on such trifles. Suddenly, the dragon quickly cleared the floor and stairs of dirt with the help of magic. Seeing this, the girl wanted to say something, but the bird asked if she wanted to scold him for using magic, and told her not to dare to tell him what to do. The main character says that she didn't want to say that, but just to thank him because he did the job for her. Hearing this, the dragon says that she is incurably dim-witted. He thinks about what must have happened for her to be born so stupid. At this time, guests arrived at the mansion, and Newt's family happily welcomed them. Mrs. Dardil noticed that they had changed the interior, and it was very beautiful because the grandeur was simply amazing. Watching the guests, the dragon asked who these people were. Elaine answered that they were good friends of her aunt's and they visited each other every month. Rebus wonders what they are doing. The young lady explains that they are simply drinking tea and talking because that is how people get closer. However, it turns out that Lorena came that day with her family. Lorena Dardil is the one who had a direct hand in choosing the girl for sacrifice when she had not yet returned back in time. She was the one who hated Elaine from the very first seconds of her appearance in the temple. So she became Lark's wife. It is the main character who does not understand why Lorena hated her so much. Since she was hated by all members of the Newt family as a child, however, the girl does not think that this could be a reason for hatred for her too. Mrs. Dardil, seeing Lark, reports that the gentleman has become even more handsome during this time. The dragon looked closely at Lorena and tells Elaine that it seems to him that this girl likes her cousin, since he saw this from the reaction of the girl, who would like to copulate with Lark. Elaine, surprised, heard this and said that it was not so. After all, they were children and you can't use such words towards them. Surprised, Rebus asked the lady what this could be called. The girl answered that Lorena just liked Lark. Elaine explains to the bird that the feeling of liking someone and wanting someone are two completely different things. The dragon asks in surprise if they are different, and at that moment he realizes that Lark is the guy the girl had an unrequited crush on. Rebus asks the lady if she likes it because he doesn't even look strong. The bird claims that the girl has strange preferences. Elaine says that Lorena once told her herself that she liked Lark. However, there was no need for this, since it was obvious to the naked eye, because Lark liked Elaine too, because in their country, marriages between cousins were allowed. However, she and Lark were not related by blood, and whatever it was, He was unattainable for the girl. However, she continued to like him despite all this. The main character reflects that maybe Lorena knew that she liked Lark, and maybe that's why she didn't like her so much. However, Elaine never had a chance to be with Lark. Lorena had been prepared for him since childhood. Since she hated him, Elaine had to dislike him and envy her. The main character thought about it because she would not be able to forgive Lark, let alone love him. However, she thought about the fact that this time everything might turn out differently. After all, she no longer loved Lark. The main character noticed that the guy she didn't like was looking at her. The girl decides to quickly leave for the room before she gets scolded. She remembers and she still gets chills from the coldness in his voice. Because for Lark, she was always just a thing that could be easily sold. The main character does not understand how long she will keep such a person in her heart. Arriving in the room, the main character lay down on the bed because she was very tired. At this time, the bird asks her why she does not want to finish them off. And does she not want revenge? The dragon says that no matter how much he does not listen to her, in this house they did nothing but mock her. The young lady explains that killing is not the solution to all her problems and that it is not the revenge she wants. Hearing this, the bird says that in his experience, this is the best way. Elaine says she wants to rest because she is tired. However, she hears laughter outside as everyone is probably gathered in the dining room. She wonders if there will ever come a day when she can laugh with someone. The main character remembers that in the past, she had no friends because she was neither an aristocrat nor a commoner. And therefore, the girl did not fit into any of the societies and therefore lived her entire life alone. After all, perhaps that is why she was sacrificed in the end. The lady understands that no one would mourn her death. Seeing the bird next to her, Elaine thought that she was not alone and the dragon would be with her until she made all 3 wishes. Suddenly, the main character heard 2 knocks on the door and thought that it was not Emily. The girl asks who is behind the door, and the maid says that she was ordered to bring her to the hall. The surprised dragon asks who asked for this. The young lady replies that she thinks her cousins are calling her. Entering the room, the girl sees Damon holding a plate with cake in his hand. He invites the girl to come in and at that moment throws the plate at her. The dragon saw this and reacted, using magic, making the plate fly past. The surprised girl thought that she had completely forgotten, because every time she was called into the living room, she suffered. It was common for these kids to bully Elaine. The girl thought that now she would not silently accept their bullying. An angry Damon asks the girl why she is dodging and calls her a coward. Hearing this, Elaine laughs and makes her cousin even angrier. Evil Damon asks the girl if she's laughing at him. Elaine also asks how she can help but laugh at someone like him, since he calls her a coward even though he throws cake at her. The cousin heard this and asked if she had developed a tongue and how dare she answer him. The young lady asks why he invited her since he certainly didn't invite her to drink tea. Damon turned red with anger and screamed, saying that if he says to come, then she should come, and if he says to leave, then the girl should leave, and asks why these stupid questions. The girl claims that her uncle told her not to leave the room. However, if she were to be seen by the guests, then Martin would be scolded for inviting her. Hearing this, the cousin says that she herself understands that she is not worthy of being seen by the guests. Lorena turns to the girl and tells her to accept her fate with honor. Hearing this, Elaine says that she does not understand why she has not been driven out of here yet, and asks Lorena if it is strange for her to see her. Lorena asks the girl why she suddenly dropped all the formalities. Ask the girl why she suddenly dropped all the formalities. After all, Elaine is practically a commoner. The main character claims that her uncle scolded her 100 times, ordering her not to do anything that could tarnish the name of the Newt family. The girl with brown hair says that she needs to learn some manners. Elaine says that she is also a member of the Newt family, and if she starts acting like she is below Lorena, that would make the entire Newt family below the Dardell family. Hearing this, Damon angrily screams that the girl has completely lost her mind and asks why she thinks she is a member of their family. Elaine suggests removing her from the family registry and sending her away. At this time, Lars entered the room and asked Elaine in surprise why she said such a thing. Seeing the guy behind her, the girl was a little confused. Lars asks his younger brother, who Elaine is, if she is not a member of Newt's family. Martin agrees, and at this time says that she is illegitimate. Lars says that Elaine's mother was entered into the family register by their grandfather, and that their father in turn gave his consent for Elaine to continue her mother's line. He asks his brother if he wants to say that he denies this. Martin says, confused, that it's not quite like that. Lars hears this and suggests that he behave appropriately in the future, because Elaine finally said something right. Lars approaches Elaine and suggests that she never again talk about being removed from the family register or kicked out of the house if she does not want to disobey the head of the nude family. Lars had done things before that could be interpreted as support, so it was inevitable that she would fall in love with him. Elaine was a person who could be conquered by the slightest sign of attention. However, Lars left her here and tied her to himself, and in the end he had no other thoughts than to sell the girl. As long as she already knows this truth about him, her love for him seemed to evaporate. The main character, addressing the guy, says that whoever sees it will say that it is strange since she, recognized as a member of the nude family, has been working with the maids since early morning today. The young lady claims that she was not allowed to go outside her room and therefore could not even eat properly. She asks what difference it makes if she is thrown out. Surprise cousin says that Elaine is acting strange today. Hearing this, the girl thought that it was not strange for these children when she could not say a word against them. Elaine says if they have nothing more to say, then she will go back, and will not disturb their guests. Lars suggests the girl to go back because she is probably tired. When Elaine left, she heard the screams and excuses of her cousin, who doesn't know how she did it because her hand slipped and the cake hit her brother right in the face. Walking down the corridor, the young lady asks the bird if this is her business. The dragon replies that he has nothing to do with it, and asks the girl if he wants to break all their legs now. The lady objects and claims that this cannot be done. The bird says that it is precisely because of her compassion that he is holding himself together with all his might. Rebus says that he used to think that young people could be tolerable, but now he has changed his mind. Hearing this, the main character says that there are people who are spoiled from childhood. The bird says that every time the girl refuses him to cut all these weeds at the root. Elaine claims that it will not be difficult to destroy all the people who mocked her using his power, but then asks what is left for her. The dragon replies that probably joy. The girl says that this is not her revenge, since she will not even receive remorse from them, since they will die with the thought that it is she who is unfair to them. The dragon recalls the words of the witch, who asked to finish off all the people in this village. He asks what kind of revenge the girl wants. The lady replies that she does not know exactly yet, but she is sure that she will come up with something. The bird thought that she was already mullet from her kindness. However, that kid who threw the cake at her, and that arrogant girl, and that guy who read a pointless lecture, none of them pleased the dragon. Because among them all, Rebus likes only one person, and this girl who does absolutely nothing. He saw how she trembled saying those confident words the bird could only calm down his ardor by throwing a cake in Martin's face. The dragon thought that it would be much better if the cake were bigger. However, it would be great if there was a fork and knife. But without realizing it, Rebus decided to hide it, meeting the girl's eyes when she asked if it was him. After all, it seemed to him that the bird would regret if the lady suddenly became disappointed in him. However, whatever it was, it would be enough for him not to be caught by the girl. Again, a dream about the day when the mage Lancer Aquinal sealed the dark dragon Rebus, whose face when he was sealed was full of disappointment. However, at that moment of sealing the dragon, Lancer was overtaken by a curse, and he disappeared from that place. Lancer doesn't understand why he keeps having this dream, but he doesn't like it. After Lancer swallowed a dragon stone with the ability to predict, he had prophetic dreams before some important events. So, most likely there is a reason why he has this dream. Judging by the fact that there are still remnants of the strongest magic in society, it can be assumed that the heart of the dragons is one, or maybe several dragons with enormous power that can turn the world inside out, and Lancer cannot understand what kind of power this is. This year marks exactly 500 years since Rebus was imprisoned. And perhaps that is why the magician dreams about him. Of all the dragons Lancer had met, Rebus was the only one who used his power so freely. Strong magical abilities and an innate ability to use them. All this led to the dragon having a bad character, and therefore his generosity to his contractor was only laughed at. Standing by the window, Lancer thinks that these are useless thoughts. However, no matter what he is, the dragon will not be freed from captivity. It seems to him that he began to worry about trifles. It has been 800 years since the red-haired boy began searching for the dragon stone. If he had this stone, he would have no trouble conquering the entire land. Lancer didn't like the dragon society, which focused on maintaining balance and peace. He didn't understand why they had to leave the Earth. Because the dragons only needed to subjugate these little humans, and then they would become their gods. At first, the red-haired boy tried to persuade the elders and persuade other dragons, but no one supported him. So he killed the elder and took his place, causing Lancer to lose 90% of his magic core and be expelled from Dragon Society. The man reasons that he was too stupid back then because he shouldn't have spent so much energy on destroying the elder. However, after losing the core of his magic, he learned that he could use the magic of the Dragonstone. One day, when Lancer was wandering around the wasteland in a weakened state, he tried to eat a Dragonstone with his mammal core, mistaking it for a mammal. However, at that moment, everything changed, and his core, which was almost empty, was slightly filled. Finding a few more stones, the result was the same. Lancer realized that the Dragonstone absorbed magic into itself and then replenished it in him. Even after he had replenished his core completely, his magic became even stronger when he ate the Dragonstone, because this was a discovery that none of the dragons were interested in, since Lancer was essentially eating the eggs of his own kind. And he liked it, because he became stronger than the most powerful elder dragons. Standing by the window, the man with red hair thinks about how that day the enslavement of people became even closer. The powerful energy of the tribesmen in the Newt family home and its carrier is exactly the Dragonstone, which stores unimaginable power. And once Lancer eats it, he will immediately be able to remove all the elders, and perhaps he will be able to enslave the intermediate worlds. The man with red hair thinks about whether he will own both the Earth and the intermediate worlds. Then he can be called God, who can become a deity. Suddenly, Sasha enters Lancer's room and says that she misses him. Coming closer to the man, she hugs him and says that as soon as she saw him, she immediately felt better. The man asks the woman if she came to see the Emperor. Sasha replies that she is so disgusted by pleasing this old man, but they cannot make Abel Emperor. The woman claims that Lancer can turn this world upside down if he so desires. The man says that for now they need this person, and Sasha suggests not to worry since he is under an illusion spell. The guy with red hair says that it's not only the Emperor who worries her, and the surprised woman asks how he knows her so well. Sasha says that it is all because of Princess Anais, because every time she sees her, she feels bad. Because they are the same women, but one was born a princess and has the whole world under her feet, and the other was born a witch and lives looking back every time. The Emperor's mistress claims that she is stronger than her because she worked on herself until she lost her pulse and has more rights to this empire than Crown Princess Anais. Lancer heard this and supported the woman, asking if it wasn't because her strength alone wasn't enough that she called him here. Sasha, claiming that if it weren't for him, it would be very difficult to make Abel Emperor. However, if they continue in the same spirit, she will become the mistress of the empire, not Anais. The woman asks to make Anais bow down to her quickly. The man reassures the woman and says that there is very little time left since he only needs one stone from the Newt family home. Therefore, he will give her a reason to visit their home. At this time in the Newt mansion, the main character saw a lot of snow through the window. The dragon asks her if she likes the snow because he can make it go harder. The girl refuses this offer because she will have to sweep up all this snow anyway. The surprised bird asks why she has to sweep the snow. The girl replies that she has to do all the hard work, but strangely enough, there is so much snow that the maids should have woken her up long ago. The main character looked out the window and saw that the maids had already started working a long time ago, and thought that she needed to start working quickly before she was scolded. Elaine went outside, took a shovel, and started working. The dragon asks if he should melt all the snow. The girl refuses because she only needs to sweep the paths where people walk and carriages drive. She says that she likes to watch the snow pile up. Rebus says that he never thought that he would be the one asking his contract to use his magic. The dragon got tired of watching the girl work and wanted to use his magic, but suddenly the girl heard someone coming and stopped him. Suddenly Elaine sees Lars and asks him what happened. The guy takes the shovel from her and tells her not to do such things again. The surprised lady asks what this means, and the guy tells her that she should no longer do the things that maids are supposed to do. The dragon heard this and thought that he was a sneak and was wondering what the guy was going to do. Elaine objects to him, and Lars says that she is a recognized member of the Newt family, and therefore she should not be involved in the affairs of some servants, since this could cause gossip and disrespect from the servants and other families. The guy wags the girl not to do anything that could tarnish the family name. The lady says that he should have thought about it beforehand before treating her like a servant, because this matter could have been fixed with one word from her. The lady claims that she did not choose this life for herself. Hearing this, Lars says that she has learned to be cheeky. The girl replies that if he does not want her to be cheeky, then first let him correct his habit of shifting all responsibility onto her. The surprised guy thought that Elaine had changed. Just recently, she couldn't say a word against him and never contradicted him, and now she spoke so that it was barely audible if you didn't listen. However, on the day Lorena arrived, Elaine answered him now. Suddenly, the lady announces that she is leaving, and the guy grabs her hand and tells the girl to change her clothes to something more appropriate. Because looking at her, you can really think that she is a servant. Elaine is told that this is the warmest thing she has. The guy thinks for a moment and says that a little later, Ellie will go to the dressing room to choose clothes for herself, and he will tell her that she and the girls have picked out a couple of outfits. The main character says that if he wants it that way, she won't stop him, since they gave her the surname Nude, so the attitude towards her should be appropriate. Lars, coming to his father's office, says that by ignoring this and treating Elaine like a servant, they achieved the fact that the daughter of some Dardals mocked their family. The guy says that Lorena looked down on Elaine, thinking that she had already become the daughter-in-law of their family. And besides, Martin Damon and Ellie supported such inappropriate behavior of Lorena. In saying so, Lars changed the minds of his parents, and the younger ones were of course punished by their father. But even after that, Elaine walks around with a shovel in her hands. Lars remembers what the girl told him, that she was treated differently. And he thought about how Elaine dares to think about running away from him. The guy is sure that it will never happen. At this time, the dragon says that last time the girl was shaking like an aspen leaf in front of that guy, and today she told him everything she wanted. However, he thinks that she is not such a fool. Elaine asks the bird if he thought it was stupid. Rebus says it is stupid to take the long way when there is a shorter way. The main character asks the dragon about how he killed many people and whether he enjoyed doing it. The dragon replies that he didn't like killing people because he was fulfilling the wishes of his contractor. The surprised main character asks him if it is true that his contract girl herself asked him to do this. The bird claims that she herself finished it off. Hearing this, the girl says that there was clearly something wrong with that man. The dragon, curious, asks what exactly. The young lady replies that perhaps her heart was not well. Looking at the dragon, the girl notices that he is upset and asks if he is okay. Rebus invites the girl to hug him and stroke him, and if she wants, she can even kiss him. Elaine doesn't understand why the dragon asked her to do this so suddenly, because it seems to her that he was in a bad mood. Rebus asks the girl if she is friendly towards him, because she is the same for others. The main character answers that she can only be so friendly with him, and reminds him that he knows how she lived. Late at night, when the lady was sleeping in her bed, the dragon looked at her and thought about the words she said. He remembers when Lancer was with him. She was always a kind and good person. Sometimes there were moments when she seemed to have lost her soul, and maybe it was because of the heartache because she could not trust him and betrayed the dragon. Rebus always trusted Lancer. He reflects that the witch did not pet him because she did not consider him a friend. In comparison, Lancer, his current contractor, pets him as if he should. The dragon thinks that he would like to know this girl better. However, human faces are such a country, and he can't get used to it. Suddenly, the bird has an idea to change his appearance to a human. He wonders if that would be even stranger. The dragon turned into a young, handsome guy and thought about how people have such useless long arms and legs. And it seems to him that they are also slow because I can run on all fours. Looking at his legs, the handsome guy thinks that he can't even kill a rabbit with them. However, looking at the young lady who is sleeping, the dragon thinks that she looks better than before. Rebus reflects that today he was convinced that the girl is not as stupid as she seems. He understands that if they continue to talk, he will be able to find out the reason why the lady does not want to use his magic. The dragon doesn't know the exact differences between Lancer and Elaine, but he feels that the current contractor is completely different, although she is similar to Lancer in some places. Starting with the fact that Elaine suffered abuse in this house, she most likely suffered in the temple as well. The bird realizes that the girl's face does not have the gloom that Lancer had. The dragon thinks that 500 years ago, he might have wanted to see Lancer like this once. Rebus touches the girl's hair and reflects that the witch was dark like him, but Elaine is very fair. The young lady shines like gold under the sun, and her green eyes are like chrysolite. In comparison, Lancer had pitch black eyes, and looking into them, one could think that one was drowning in them. The dragon, touching the girl's hair, remembers that he likes it so much when she strokes him. However, it turns out that stroking someone himself is also pleasant. The guy thinks about a kiss because he might like it. Dragons also express affection by touching heads or intertwining tails, but the most pleasure is when a couple licks each other. However, this only applies to lovers. A kiss is also something more intimate, and Rebus is sure that he will like it. Rebus leaned closer to the girl and wanted to touch her, but he felt strange because the girl was just his contractor, not even his lover. But for some reason, he wanted to lick her. The dragon seems to think it is pointless because every day for 500 years being locked up, he wanted to take revenge on Lancer. Ever since they returned from the past, something seems to stop him. And it may be because the young lady is very cute. The dragon remembers that the girl was cute even when she was Lancer. However, Rebus called Hubert, who is the family mammal of Rebus. The dragon tells him that it will be necessary to build the county of Rindel and spread rumors about it. Surprised, Mamul asks if he wants to use his human form. The dragon replies that he wants to as long as he needs it. Suddenly, Hubert excitedly says that he has been waiting for his return to the house for 500 years and is therefore touched by such news. Rebus orders him to quickly comply before he eats him. Mammal reports that he has understood and will quickly spread rumors about the heir to the county of Rindel. Sars Rindel. The dragons who gathered for a meeting and heard these rumors reasoned that it was impossible to leave it like that, because the black dragon who fell to the ground took and turned back time. The blue dragon suggests to calm down as they will discuss it once the elder arrives, as it is not an easy matter even though he is a dragon. Again, this is only possible if ether is involved. The old dragon says that if the god is angry about this, the dragons will be the first to suffer. And do not underestimate Ratel's powers. Hearing this, the blue dragon says that he hasn't heard this name for a long time, because Ratel is a very strong dragon that is difficult to see. She is the dragon that gave birth to the problematic black dragon. However, no one could have imagined that such a strong Ratel would fall in love with the weak Catan. The love of these two dragons went through many difficulties and ultimately did not last long. Catan, who was sent on an expedition to Middle-earth, was killed in battle with the Mamul. After that, Ratel did not consider another candidate for a mate. Instead, she gathered Catan's strength within herself and continued her work. The blue dragon, addressing Rantel, screams and suggests not to do anything stupid to her, since she will not be able to give birth and carry an egg with such strength, and her husband would not want it either. However, the white dragon replies that what is important is what she wants, and this is her desire. No one could stop the determined Ratel, who wanted to leave evidence that Catan had once lived. She laid an egg and used all her power to do so, disappearing after Catan. And the egg that Ratel traded her life for turned out to be deformed. The blue dragon remembers that this egg was abandoned because they thought it would not hatch. The egg that Ratel spent all her power on could not have been an ordinary one. When the elder joins the Dragon Council, everyone asks him what to do about this situation. The elder suggests calming down first. Since Ratel's egg fell to the ground, he knew it was special. Hearing this, the dragons ask if the elder knew that he would cook such a mess. The elder replies that he didn't know, but he was sure it would cause them trouble. The blue dragon asks why he told them to leave the egg and go away. The elder replies that it is his destiny and he could not be with them. However, at least for the sake of separating the world of dragons and humans, he must be there. This black dragon will be recorded in the history of mankind as the last dragon. The blue dragon asks if it is possible to drag him here without ceremony. The elder answers that it is not so simple, because the human world for the evil principle is like a house without a master. The blue dragon is sure that this is the problem of the humans. The old dragon asks him if he thinks that Middle-earth will remain in peace if the human world falls to the ether. The elder claims that they are fewer in number than any other species of living creatures, and that their powers are becoming weaker. When they migrated to Middle-earth, many dragons died in battle. Recalling their deaths, the elder says that they cannot remain on the sidelines, and it will be difficult to interfere in the human world since they have long since left it. However, they are left with only this dark dragon, who is now in the human world. Meanwhile, at the Newt Mansion, the cousins are looking at the gifts their parents gave them. Ellie got a doll, Damon got new skates, and Martin got a horse, which he is already examining in the stables. Parents tell their children that after lunch they will need to go to church and therefore they need to change their clothes. Seeing many gifts, the dragon asks the girl what they are doing. Elaine explains that today is St. Nicholas Day and that is why they are getting gifts. Rebus claims that the people have settled in well and he does not understand what this Nicholas was doing since his name was included in the calendar. Elaine explains that Nicholas is a saint who protects children, and so on this day it is customary to give chocolates or small gifts to minors. The bird asks the lady if she has ever been given such a gift. The girl replies that no, because when her mother was alive, they were not in a position for her to receive gifts. And after her death, she no longer had anyone left who could give her anything. However, for this reason, her cousins, who received gifts, laughed at her empty-handed that day. They offered her to look at each other's gifts and asked which one she had. However, despite all the mockery, the doll that Ellie received seemed very beautiful to the girl at that time. Elaine decides to avoid the cousins today. However, even if she encounters them, she will ignore them as much as possible. The girls are certainly calmer when Rebus is around, since he will not remain on the sidelines. The main character says that she will go to the kitchen and take the tray and suggests that the dragon sit in the room. Hearing this, the bird replies that one would think that he follows her everywhere with his tail. And the girl agrees with him. The young lady thought that she could not depend on Rebus all the time and that she needed to be stronger. Suddenly, in the hallway, the main character is met by cousins who offer her to look at each other's gifts. Ellie says that she was given a Posleen doll, which is sold only in Mrs. Fallon's store. Elaine says that the girl must be very happy and says that she didn't get anything. Ellie says that she's sorry because where would a gift come from for a child who doesn't have a mother? Ellie says that it will be very sad if you continue, and so she suggests going outside and eating sweets. After all, she heard that the temple is giving out a bunch of sweets to orphans today. Kuzena suggests that the girls go there and stock up on goodies for the year. Elaine initially wanted to ignore all this, but since there is no dragon nearby and her beginning is to hurt. The girl thought about it after all. Can she really just remain silent? She remembers the words of Rebus, who told her that she is not so stupid anymore. The main character, addressing the girl, says that if she goes there on her advice, then she can really stock up on goodies for a year ahead. However, after that, unpleasant rumors will spread that the Newt family does not even have a candy to give to their niece. Elaine asks if they will like it, and she thought that he does not want to remain silent like a fool. Martin heard this and screamed and asked in surprise if they had any candies. He took the candies and threw them at the girl. And at the same time, he screamed, "How dare she say such a thing," and let her take them and choke. Having calmed down a bit, the guy says that she can now thank him for his generosity. After counting Elaine's candies, he says that there are only 4 of them, and they are the same size as his brain. Hearing this, Damon gives all his candies to the girl and says that this is enough. Since there are not many, but they are definitely tastier than those that are handed out on the street. Damon suggests that under no circumstances should Elaine go out on the street and disgrace their family. The main character says that since they care about her so much, she can't help but accept their care and eat her fill. The girl thanked them and wished everyone a happy Nicholas Day. Arriving in her room with an apron full of sweets, the young lady was very happy and laughing. She was met by a dragon who asked if she had finally come to her senses. Elaine offers the dragon to look at the chocolates and candies that her cousins had given her for nothing. The surprised bird claims that these demons could have poisoned the candies. The lady replies that they simply could not refuse her. Hearing this, the dragon understands that the girl was laughing with happiness. Elaine explains that she hasn't had this in the past and she feels like she will be eating chocolate for the first time on Nicholas Day. The main character asks Rebus if he has ever received a gift in his life. The dragon thought about it and asked if she thought he wanted to receive anything from some people. The young lady claims that it is not necessary to receive gifts from people and gives an example from his mother. The bird replies that he does not know his mother, and he only knows that someone gave birth to him because he has never felt the presence of his mother. Rebus explains that his egg was deformed and that's probably why his mother abandoned him. The surprised girl claims that this can't be true. The dragon says that there's nothing wrong with that because the egg looked like it wouldn't hatch. And it was a rational decision. The main character asks the bird if dragons lay many eggs. Rebus replies that they usually lay only 1 or 2 eggs once in their lifetime. However, abandoning a baby that does not show signs of life is a natural way for animals to survive. The dragon claims that his mother didn't know that this would happen because he looked extremely pathetic to them. Rebus remembers being asked if he would fly with them to the Middle Lands since it was the council's decision and he must obey. The dark dragon replies that they abandoned him and he wondered why they suddenly remembered him. The elder replies that they abandoned him only because his egg was deformed. However, they never thought that he would hatch. 500 years ago, his kind found the dark dragon to bring him back to them and told him these words. Because then he didn't even think to ask about his mother. because there was no need to be convinced a second time that he was abandoned by his mother. However, Rebus was curious about what kind of dragon his mother was, and what had to happen for his egg to turn out like that. He did not understand why it was necessary to abandon it. Hearing this, Elaine claims that she does not think the dragon was abandoned. Rather, something happened that explains this situation. The surprised bird asks how she knows, and the girl replies that it is obvious, since what kind of mother would abandon her child, which she can only bear once? The young lady says that animals, of course, abandon their young, who are not fit for life. However, dragons are not ordinary animals, because they cannot so easily take someone's life. The girl claims that his mother absolutely loved him, and perhaps she still lives, missing him. The worried dragon, hearing this, thought about it and did not know what to answer. Elaine says that until the dragon meets his mother, she will love him instead of her. Hearing this, Rebus says how easy everything is for people, but she could be glad that he is helping her. Suddenly, someone knocked on Elaine's door. The girl opened the door and saw Lars. She asked him what brought him here at such a late hour, and she thought that this was the first time the guy had come to her room. Lars says that she has stopped visiting him lately, and so he had no choice but to come to the girl himself. The guy claims that just 2 months ago, Elaine often came to him, and he asks her why she does not do so now. The young lady recalls that despite the time that has passed, she still clearly remembers the words that Lars said about how he told her not to come to him just like that, because the guy gets tired of it. The girl remembers that she came to Lars even though she heard similar things. However, after this incident, when she stood in front of his room, she was always worried and afraid that this time he would definitely drive her away. These cruel words cut her into pieces, and she trembled with fear. Elaine thought that Lars had never felt this way, and she thought he cared about her so much. However, now she realized that it was absolute indifference. The young lady reminds the guy that he himself told him not to come without a reason. Hearing this, Lars replies that he said so more than once, but the girl did not stop coming. Lars looked at the girl and offered her to take the box. The surprised lady asked what it was. The guy answered that today is St. Nicholas Day and she should get a gift. Elaine looks at the guy and asks what he wants from her. Lars angrily asks if she thinks he wants to bribe her to get something from her. However, the gentleman suggests that the girl not try to think with her little head and live the way she lived before. The main character thought that the gentleman wanted her to run after him like before and bathe him in her attention. Lars reminds that he has already said before that Elaine is also a family member, because that means that he and his father are responsible for her. Hearing this, the young lady thought that she already knew how her responsibility would manifest itself. The fair-haired guy claims that as the heir, he now also has the right to an opinion and decision on family matters, and therefore a little later he wants to tell his father about her. Lars says that he wants to send the girl to study or organize her debut in high society. However, he can influence the question of her marriage. The guy suggests trusting him and just being patient for a little while, since his father is still uneasy about her mother, but he thinks that Dad will listen to his words. A surprised Elaine reflects on how she doesn't understand what happened to Lars. However, she realizes that she needs to be careful and opens the box that contained the bow. The dragon asks if she likes the bow. The girl replies that she doesn't like the bow at all because it doesn't suit her at all. The lady realizes that she'll be lucky if she doesn't get in trouble with her sister or brother because of it. Rebus says that now it is his turn to give her a gift, which is definitely better than this guy's gift. The surprised girl says that she will take these words for a gift, and if they find something on her that she didn't have before, she will be accused of stealing. The dragon angrily says that he has told her 1,000,000 times not to think of him as humans, because humans are attached to material things, and he offers Elia that if she wants something, he will give it to her on St. Nicholas Day. The main character thanked the dragon, and he asks if she is ready to receive a gift from him. Suddenly, the room became very bright, and the surprised lady asks what it is. The dragon calms the girl down and explains that it does not happen so instantly, because it is the soul of a dead person. Suddenly, a woman appeared in the room, in whom the girl recognized her mother. The dragon explains that in front of the lady now is a soul, which he simply gave a human form to make it easier to talk. The bird claims that it cannot keep the dead soul here for long, and if there is something to say, it suggests speaking faster. The surprised lady hugs her mother, and the woman says that it is very hard for her without her. Elaine replies that everything is fine because she is healthy and has not even been serving here lately. The girl happily reports that she has made a friend. The daughter asks her mother if she is sick and if she is happy there. The woman replies that she was not worried about her because her mother is comfortable there. The dragon holds the magic with all his might and warns him that there is little time left and suggests speaking quickly if he has something to say. The daughter asks her mother if she can tell who her father is. The girl sees that her mother's face has changed, and she tells her that she doesn't have to tell if she doesn't want to remember him. The woman replies that her daughter has no father. The worried girl asks if he has passed away. The mother replies that he never was because she gave birth and conceived it herself. The woman wonders if Rebus asked Elaine for anything like a stone. The girl recalls and says that a little later after her death, he asked if her mother left her any small black stone. Mama explains that this dragon stone was given to her by the former Count Nude, because this stone was very rare and special among all the dragon stones. It remained with her after the death of the former count. The woman reports that since she did not want to give it away, she decided to eat the stone. This is how her daughter was born. Hearing this, Elaine says that she doesn't understand anything. She wonders if her mother hid it somewhere and wants the girl to find the stone. The woman's spirit objects and says no and suggests that she continue to pretend that she knows nothing about this stone, because no matter what anyone says, she is her daughter and she is a human being. The woman insists that her daughter should not forget this. The surprised girl does not understand what her mother is talking about. The woman explains that she is saying this so that Elaine will not be disappointed in her and will not hate her when she finds out about everything. Since there is little time left, the mother, turning to her daughter, says that she has always loved her and let her remember that no one existed for her except Elaine. The woman says that it is time for her to go and once again hugs the girl and says that she is her everything, since she has never regretted giving birth to a daughter. Within a few minutes, the woman disappeared into thin air, and the main character sat sadly on the floor. The dragon turns to the girl and apologizes for the fact that she had so little time to talk to her mother, since it is not so easy for him to do such a thing and not catch God's eye. Elaine hugs the dragon and thanks him for the fact that she will never have a gift more meaningful than this. The bird replies that he is glad that the girl liked it. Rebus reflected that he was completely uninterested in the fact that people give gifts on St. Nicholas Day. However, when he saw how happy Elaine was with a couple of chocolates from her cousins, he changed his mind. Since she was happy with such a trifle, the bird wanted to give her something that would outshine any human gift. The dragon thought that if they had a closer and warmer relationship, she would not become like before. Since the girl just wanted to meet her mother, he decided to summon the soul of the dead. However, with his currently weakened powers, it was not easy. Therefore, when he summoned Marielle's soul, he felt such a strong and excruciating pain in his chest for the first time. However, he was very glad that you were not there. In addition, the dragon understood how the revival spell works. The dragon stone that was in this house is the magical part of it in which Lancer's soul was imprisoned. And in the end, Lancer's soul was reborn as a human through Marielle's body when she ate the stone. Rebus doesn't know how the stone came to be in the Newt's possession, but the former Earl Newt clearly understood the stone's value. That's why he brought the witch and used her power to use it. The bird doesn't know what happened to Marielle because she described everything so vaguely so as not to shock her daughter too much. The dragon realizes that if only he could give them more time to be together. However, he couldn't do that because his powers weren't complete. The bird was worried that it would make the girl feel even worse. However, instead, Elaine accepted it with joy and a smile on her face. And the dragon does not understand why he is in such a good mood. The young lady, addressing the dragon, says that she has wanted to share something with him for the past few days. However, this gift was lost in the background of his gift, since humans will never be able to give anything superior to the dragon's gift, and suggests not to worry, since the expectations are short. Elaine apologizes for not being able to give him anything else and offers him a tree that is put up for the holiday as a toy. The lady explains that aristocrats bring trees home and then decorate them with various shiny toys. The girl says that she feels a little awkward giving such a gift, but in her current situation, she can't offer anything else. The dragon, seeing the gift, understands why she went out without it these days. The girl asks if he likes it, but apologizes and says that she will give him something better when they get out of here. Rebus says it's a fantastic gift and he really likes it, because it has a deep meaning. After all, it's a tree made from a pine cone that grew on a huge tree. The bird tells him that another tree can grow from the cone, and it will return to its original form. And he does not understand how such a meaning can be contained in such a small toy. The girl replies that she did not think so deeply. The dragon reports that the young lady respects nature more than her fellows. and he is pleased with his contractor. The bird says that today was a wonderful St. Nicholas holiday. Elaine says that, in fact, the arrival of the new year did not bring her any joy, because after St. Nicholas Day on the first day of the first month, there is an even more boring event: New Year's Eve service. On this day, all the aristocracy must go to the temple for worship. The girl looks at the dresses, and the dragon asks if she should wear it to the temple. The main character says that the dressmaker took her measurements as Lars ordered, and that day, when she was clearing snow, apparently at that time, she managed to sew it. As for yesterday, she received it as a gift from Lars. Looking at the red bow and white dress, the main character thought that she always dressed in something very nondescript that did not attract attention. The dragon asks if it is necessary to express oneself in order to serve God, and says that he does not like this temple. The girl agrees with him and says that she thought that in the temple her life would improve because there they still follow God's path. However, the temple that she came to know was too down to earth for the mundane. Elaine says that the temple insisted on modesty on the outside, but in reality, the main place in the temple was cruelty. The lady asks if the bird will go with her to the service. The dragon replies that he does not like the temple because he cannot stand it. The main character asks him if he has any other reason, besides the one she spoke about. Rebus replies that he has no desire to watch how people who have no idea about God arrange a service for him, because they use forces that are opposite to his. The young lady recalls that when she was being sacrificed, she heard the words of the priests who suggested delaying the time of the sacrifice and calling the knights from the temple. Hearing this, the dragon says that he hid his powers away on purpose so that while the knights were sorting things out, his powers would destroy the empire. The young lady says that the temple knights should be stronger because they were supposed to inspire fear in Rebus himself. The dragon heard this and angrily replied that he was not afraid of anyone because some bugs could not defeat him. Rebus explained that he simply did not want to deal with their power because it made him sick. The bird claims that all the stories about the temple knights defeating dragons are a fairy tale, because the dragons did not run away from fear, but simply because they were sick. Elaine claims that the fact remains a fact because the dragons did run away. Hearing this, the dragon angrily says that if the girl had not begged him not to destroy this country, he would have set everything on fire long ago, and he would have done it even if all the temple knights were assigned to him. The surprised girl answers that she understood him, but says that she already has to go. Going out the door, the main character thought about the bird, that he is as cute as Martin and Damon. And maybe it is because in dragon terms, 500 years is not much. At the entrance, the main character was met by Martin, who asked why she was so happy. The lady asked why he cared. The guy claims that such behavior of the girl will not go unpunished, because something very funny will happen today. And he, smiling, suggests the girl to wait. Elaine doesn't understand what he's talking about because nothing special is supposed to happen at the service this year. However, the girl understands that the guy has something in mind. The main character remembers that it was only that she had to go home alone because the newts left her in the temple. The girl spent a long time in the temple and therefore is well aware of its internal structure. However, she understands that today she will not get lost in the temple and will go in the carriage with them. The girl thinks that Martin might be planning to do something on the way and remembers that he stepped on her dress in the carriage. Since the dress was gray, the trace of the shoe was not noticeable. However, this time she is wearing white dresses and the poor thing will stand out a lot. The girl thinks about how she can avoid his feet. Lars suggests that his little sister ride in the carriage with her parents because he wants to ride with his brothers, and there should be at least one adult in the carriage. Lars says that he knows them and they will start acting like kids again. Mr. Lars tells Elaine that it is time for them to go and tells her to get into the carriage. The guy offers her his hand and the girl asks in surprise why. The young gentleman informing her that she will have to learn a lot since she does not even know the basic rules of etiquette. The main character objects and says that she knows everything. She just doesn't understand why he suddenly decided to observe them with her. Lars says that from now on she needs to watch her manners and suggests not to act like a servant and not to get into the carriage without an escort. When the lady was getting into the carriage, the young gentleman complimented her that the dress suited her. Hearing this, the girl thought that she had suddenly found him. Sitting in the carriage, Elaine thought about how she needed to endure until the temple. However, in any case, Lark's presence was better than the bullying of the cousins. Suddenly, the girl felt a kick from Martin. The guy asks her discontentedly why she is sitting so close. The young lady answers that he kicked her on purpose, and asks when it was and how she can prove it. Suddenly, Lars asks his brother what this useless noise is about, and since he has ruined the girl's dress, he suggests that he apologize. Martin understands that it is useless to argue with his brother and apologizes to the girl. Lars took his napkin and wiped the dirt off Elaine's dress. Arriving at the temple, the young gentleman says that from here they need to go on foot. He offers his hand as support for the girl. However, Elaine replies that she will go out herself, but the guy insists on his own, and the girl has no other choice but to agree with him. Lorena saw Lars holding Elaine's hand and became very angry. However, the main character thought that since she doesn't like Lars now, she could have a completely different relationship with Lorena. However, apparently she jumped to conclusions. Since the young gentleman forced her to agree to his accompaniment, and even if she tells Lorena about it, she will still be the scapegoat. Elaine decides not to waste her energy on excuses, since there is no one to let her get a word in anyway. In the church, the priest says that in this new year, may St. Barbara shine upon their people with her grace, and may drought, floods, and diseases bypass their country. Having said this, the priest thought that this was wonderful because His Majesty seemed pleased as well. He thought that it was good that they had repaired the temple after all because it cost a lot of money. However, the more people came here, the more donations they would give. The Holy Father thinks that if he collects a little more money, the construction of his personal castle will not be far off. The aristocrats approach the priest and thank him for his sermon, and for the fact that the Favelo temple is getting better and better every day. He replies that it is all thanks to them. Suddenly, an aristocrat approaches His Holiness and informs him that she would like to hold a meeting of wives who love St. Barbara, and invites him to visit it and give a sermon to them. The priest thinks that only 10 years ago the aristocrats did not value him at all. However, after the show called The Burial Process of the Remains of the Great Magician Lancer Aquinal, the attitude of people from the royal court to the entire aristocracy changed. The emperor began to actively use his services in case a dragon suddenly appeared, and the aristocrats, seeing that the royal court needed him, also began to come to the priest. He understands that what people really need is not just faith, but magical stories, new events, and of course, the profit that comes from it. The priest noticed that the person addressing him was Count Nude, who was close to Lady Hebron. He thought that it would be a good idea to form a relationship with someone who was related to Abel, a man who might soon take the throne. His Holiness asks the Count if he has any worries about this year. Reuben is told that he is very uncomfortable talking about it and suggests that they talk in private. Count Newt has a question regarding the religious initiation ceremony this year. He asks if the child must be his own blood child. The priest replies that usually direct blood relatives participate in this ceremony. The Count says that he has heard of cases where nephews were involved. His Holiness says that this happened in cases where there was only one child heir in the family, or if all the other children had some special circumstances. Then the temple checked all the details and gave permission. The priest says that this test can be slightly influenced. Count Newt says that his second child is already 18 this year, and the third is aiming to become a knight. However, they are thinking of marrying off their youngest daughter earlier. His Holiness says that he understands him because joining a religion and a temple is not an easy matter, but it is necessary. The Count says that it seems to him that the temple has cost a lot of money to bring such beauty, but the budget is never superfluous and he would like to make a donation. Hearing this, the priest was very happy and said that his faith is truly deep and may St. Barbara bless their nude family. At this time, Elaine thought that the service was over, so she would walk around a little and then head to the main entrance. Suddenly, the main character feels a push in her back and someone's hand grabs her. When the girl looks back, she sees her cousins with Lorena. Martin grabbed the young lady by the hand and pulled her into the temple's public cemetery. The surprised girl doesn't understand why they brought her here. Elaine addresses them and tells them that if they want to say something, they can do it without using force. An angry Martin asks the young lady what she did to her brother. The surprised girl also asks what she could have done to him. Damon asks if she's going to make a fool of herself. He says, why would her brother suddenly think about taking care of her if she hadn't done something to him? Hearing this, the girl responds that Damon shouldn't make her laugh. She asks if he thinks his brother would fall for this, even if she did something. Since he doesn't even care about his own family, Martin angrily asks what happened to his brother all of a sudden. The girl replies that she doesn't know and suggests that the guy go and ask Lars, since she's also curious. Lorena, looking at Elaine, says that she is hiding something, because the girl has become so arrogant, and Lars could not do this just like that because the girl told him something. Lorena opens the door and tells Martin that such liars need to be punished. Surprised, Elaine doesn't understand what this means. However, Martin says that lately there has been too much indulgence left. He grabbed the girl by the hand and pushed her into the middle of the tomb. Lorena says that the liar needs to be in a place where no one can hear her lies and reflect on her behavior. The cousins quickly closed the door, and the girl was left alone in the room. Worried, Elaine came closer to the door and began to knock, screaming for someone to open it for her. Martin claims that he warned her that something would happen, and he does not know what Elaine was hoping for, but lately she has become too impudent. Martin suggests that the girl reflect on her behavior. Hearing this, the main character remembered what Martin said. However, the girl understands that this did not happen in her past life and thinks that maybe this happened because she herself changed. Elaine, having looked at the room, thought that she did not want to be there, but she did not even know when she would be released from there. The girl thinks that she did not want to use the power of Rebus, but she had no choice, and she said these words to Recruito Rebus. After these words, the main character did not understand why she did not feel anything. However, then she remembered the dragon's words that the temple was its complete opposite. The lady understood that the temple was protected by the forces of light, and Elaine thought that she would remain locked in the tomb. At this time, Martin says that Elaine has turned her nose up in the air, and since they had already decided to take her with them, this time they showed the girl where the crayfish hibernate. Lorena supports him and says that he is a good boy since she also thought that Elaine allows herself too much. Damon asks his brother when they will release her, and shouldn't they release the girl before they go home? Martin asks his brother why he thinks Elaine has to be released today. He suggests sending a maid to release the girl tomorrow. Martin claims that after spending a night with the dead, the bastard will understand her place. A worried Damon asks what will happen if she freezes to death there. The older brother claims that the girl is not even outside and there is nothing for her to freeze from and suggests that Damon not worry about trifles. Suddenly, Lars asks where Martin was. The guy replies that he was just looking around the temple, and the older brother asks where Elaine is. Martin replies that she is probably walking somewhere since he did not pay attention to her as soon as they arrived here. Lars claims that this is strange because he recently heard that Martin was dragging her somewhere. Upon hearing this, the brother objects and says that this is not true. Lars confidently says that he is giving him one last chance and asks again where Elaine is. An angry Lorena asks the young gentleman why he is looking for this girl so much. Lars asks what's so strange about him looking for his relative in this crowd. The angry girl says that she only asked because it seemed to her that he cared about her even more than about his relatives. The guy confidently says that he asks because his family is walking in front of him, and Elaine is not visible. Lars looks at the girl and asks if Lady Lorena was with them. However, she should also know where Elaine is. Lars looks at the guys and says that since they are not going to say anything, and he is thinking about how to punish a person who will not fully confess. The young gentleman asks the boys if they should pay them back for what they did to Elaine. Damon says worriedly that Elaine is now in the temple's public cemetery, and she is in the tomb that is there. At this time, the main character tries with all her might to knock down the door, but she gets nothing except bruises and scratches on her hand. However, the girl screams with all her might that a person was locked inside the tomb. After a while, the young lady I thought about how she became stronger. After all, as it turns out, the fact that she was no longer bothered by this family was only thanks to Rebus. And the dragon, as it turns out, cannot always save her. Elaine looked around the room and thought that she needed to find something herself, because only she could save herself now. Suddenly, the frightened girl heard someone open the door and she thought that it was Martin returning. However, the main character saw a handsome young man with black hair. At this time, the guy asks what she is doing here. The young lady thanks the guy over and over again. A stranger turns to her and says, "That's enough thanks." The girl says that she thought she would die there. A strange guy asked the lady how she got there. And judging by the fact that the door was locked from the outside, she definitely didn't get there by her own efforts. Elaine says that her cousins decided to play a joke on her. Hearing this, the guy is very surprised and asks how it is possible to lock a person in a tomb and make such a joke. The unknown guy claims that apparently her cousins have sadistic tendencies from the beginning. The main character, looking at the guy, thinks that this man came to the temple for worship as an aristocrat and tells him who he helped her a lot. The girl asks if he can tell her his name because she would like to thank him properly. The guy with black hair asks her why the girl needs to know his name. Elaine replies that she would like to know who to repay her debt to. The guy claims that if they are destined to meet again, it will happen even if the lady does not know his name. and if they are not destined to cross paths again, then knowing his name will be useless. Elaine looked at the guy and felt strange feelings because she had never met him, but for some reason she thought that she would meet him again. The girl gave her name as Elaine Newth and said that she would like a strange man to know her name, and she would be pleased if they met again and he called her by name. The young lady says that if they do meet, she would definitely like to repay him for his kindness. Hearing this, the stranger says that his name is Serge Rindel, and the lady says that she will remember this name. Suddenly, the girl heard Lars calling her. She tells Serge that he is her cousin. The guy asks in surprise if he is the one who locked her here. The lady objects and says that he is their older brother. Serge, turning to Lars, says that he has a lot of worries with sweeping up all their affairs. The blonde guy says that his name is Lark and thanks the stranger for helping his cousin. The black-haired guy says that he has a very interesting family tradition because on the first day of the new year, he locks his cousin in a tomb. Lars says that these are just children's pranks since they can't always be aware of their actions. Serge says that he will somehow deal with his younger children himself and heal his cousin's swollen hands. A blonde guy thanks a stranger for not remaining indifferent and helping a girl. He asks if he can find out his name. The stranger asks in response if he wants to reward him. Lars claims that Newt's family never forgets kindness. The black-haired guy objects and says that it is not necessary. However, if he were to repay, then only the girls. He says that they have spent a long time in such an unpleasant place and says that he is leaving. The fair-haired guy, addressing the young lady, says that she should have just waited quietly because he would have come and quietly opened the door for her. However, she made such a noise that she was heard and helped. Surprised, Elaine says that according to him, she should have waited for him obediently in this situation. The girl asks on what grounds she should have thought that he would come. The main character asks Lars if he ever let her out when she was locked in the basement or closet. The guy replies that someone let her out anyway. The girl agrees with him and says that she was still on the verge of death at such moments. Elaine reports that when she was 10 years old, she was locked in a third-floor storage room for 4 days. However, she really wanted to go to the toilet, although she was not given anything to drink during that time. The main character, claiming that despite the fact that she was beating on the door with all her might, no one came to her. She asks Lars if he knows how she got out of there. The young lady says that the maid who wanted to take something from the pantry opened the door. However, if she had not needed that thing, maybe she would have died there. And after that, she had nightmares for 2 days in a row, and not a single soul came to apologize to her. Elaine reports that instead she was punished by cleaning that very closet, and that his younger siblings teased her for peeing herself. Lady asks Lars how he wants her to trust him, and how she can trust that he will save her. The main character suggests the guy not to make her laugh, and at this time she asks if he is so stupid that he cannot distinguish good from evil, since it is not her fault that she was trapped and called for help. The girl claims that it is his brother's fault that they locked her there. Hearing all this, Lars thought that something was wrong with Helen because she couldn't get angry like that. The guy asks the girl what happened. The young lady claims that his family always bullied her, and it seems to her that he didn't care much about it. Lars reflects on how until recently, Elaine had been his untouchable subordinate. But when he looked at her, he realized that now she was like a different person. Since that shyness in her eyes had disappeared, and now she was full of determination. The young master did not understand why, but the girl had changed. The young gentleman, having gathered his younger brothers, asks why they did this to the girl. Martin, defending himself, says that he had planned to get Elaine out of there from the start. Ellie claims that they did not want things to turn out this way. Damon convinces Lars that this girl is lying to him because they decided to just scare her a little. Martin says that he, on the contrary, planned to be friends with her and find a common language, but she did not want it. The younger brother asks Lars if he thinks his brother is lying to him. Martin claims that the girl is somehow influencing him. Lars replies that he is nice to Elaine. Hearing this, Martin says that he does not let her do housework and also buys clothes and gives gifts. The young gentleman, remembering the girl's words, turns to his brothers and tells them that if something similar happens to Elaine in the future, he will do the same thing they did to the girl, because he will punish them all. Lars told his parents all about it. His father heard this and said that he was glad that a boy his age saved him, but he suggested that his son be more careful in the future. Because something like that will happen in the future, maybe with dire consequences. Mom claims that this girl is still their problem. However, because of her, so much noise was raised and asks if they heard. The woman claims that in any case, she is against all this. The young gentleman tells his parents that he has kept silent until now. However, they should not justify their children by blaming Elaine for this. Hearing this, the mother asks in surprise what he means. Lars explains that every time Elaine was bullied by her siblings, he thought it was all her fault, because they had gone too far, and he realized that they were doing it out of whim and not her fault. Hearing this, the father says that his son himself does not know anything yet. However, the fact that someone saved him is a shame for them. Lars asks if they think it's not Elaine's fault. The guy claims that the parents themselves understand this and suggests not to react so emotionally to it. The son asks his father why he hates Elaine. However, if she is raised well, she will be useful to their family, because this is the girl he will use in the future. The boy suggests that his parents not touch her anymore. Rebus asks his son what this means. Lars replies that he always thought that Marielle was an asset that his grandfather gave to his father, since Elaine, born to Marielle, is his property. The son says that unlike his father, he plans to put Elaine to good use. Rebus, hearing this, thinks that this possessiveness from Lars is the beginning of a rift between them. Count Nude remembers that because of Marielle, he became a mocker among society, and quarrels with his wife began. In addition, he lost the magical dragon stone, which was a family heirloom. The father thought that his son wanted to end up the same way he did. However, the Count wanted his son to become the ideal successor to the family. After all, he couldn't leave everything like this. At this point, the dragon asks if the young lady had a good time at the temple. The girl replies that something unexpected happened, and the bird asks in surprise what it was. The main character explains that her cousins played a prank on her by locking her in a tomb. Hearing this, the dark bird offers to kill them all. Elaine says that when she was locked up, she couldn't think of anything, and if she could, she would have borrowed Lord Rabe's power and suggests that perhaps everything would have gone well. Rebus heard this and laughed at how much she wanted to borrow it. The bird says that the temple is surrounded by a cursed divine power. The young lady agrees with him because she thought about it too late. The girl says that if she could decide all this herself, he would not be able to enter the temple anyway. Rebus says he can enter, but it will be a little difficult for him to use his power. Also, the invisibility magic may wear off. The bird suggests that the girl not worry, because next time he will go with her. Hearing this, the young lady thanked him. The dragon replies that there is nothing to thank him for since he did not even do anything special when she needed him. Rebus asks Elaine how she managed to get out of that place. The girl replies that a passerby saved her. The dragon asks who it was. The lady replies that he looked like the son of an aristocrat who came to visit them. However, the girl thought that for some reason she had never heard the answer about this guy. Elaine explains that this guy is very handsome, and she is sure he has many admirers. After all, he is a very popular man in social circles. The main character reflects on the fact that she will meet someone whose name she has never heard from a past life, and she will not change it in the future. The dragon asks if he is about her age. The lady replies that he is more like Lars's age. The dark dragon asks the girl if she likes this man, and if he is more handsome than Lars. Elaine thinks for a moment and says that he is handsome. And he seems more special, but that means he is more handsome. Rebus asks the girl if she likes him to that extent, and if she is ready to make him her life partner because she likes him. Elaine objects because she didn't say that. The girl explains that he's just handsome, but that doesn't mean she likes this man unconditionally. The dragon says that people need to think when it comes to their partner, and asks what else should a girl be attracted to in this guy, and what is her ideal type. The main character replies that he should look good, be rich, have a charming voice, and good manners. However, she never thought about such a thing, and nothing even comes to her mind. After thinking for a bit, the girl replies that one thing is for sure, because she likes the person who will truly love her, and will treat her kindly and will not hurt her. The dragon says that he will be kind and will not offend, and does this mean that she loves him too? The girl replies that she does not know because she has never met such a person before. Rebus explains that the first criterion by which an animal chooses a mate is whether the male can properly protect his nest. And so, you need to choose a strong male, and one that feeds you well. Elaine says that these are ordinary animal instincts, and asks the question what love really is. The girl knows motherly love, but she has never experienced love for the opposite sex. The main character remembers the vague feelings she had for Lars in her past life. She doesn't know if it's love, because the warmth that tickles her is so reassuring. Suddenly, the young lady thought of the man she had met in the tomb, and she found it strange. Although she had never met him, she had a feeling that she would be able to meet this man again. Late at night, when the main character was sleeping, the dark dragon turned into a man and thought that he couldn't believe that he managed to show his humane side. Sars thought that while he was in hiding, the fashion houses that were under control had been steadily subordinated to the Lindell family. But no one from the Count's family had ever appeared in person. The Lindell family's position within the empire was ambiguous. So, unbeknownst to Elaine, as a human, Serge Lindell was trying to make the Lindell family the most powerful in the empire. Serge wanted to meet Elaine at a time when the entire empire already knew about the Lindell family. However, the dragon could not think that she would try to use his power. And this means that Elaine was in danger. Rebus remembers that back then, using magic power was risky because in this way he had no choice but to help in this form. Since the dark dragon joined the family, it was the first time he saw Elaine like this. However, if he had not been there, he would have thought that this must have been a normal thing for the girl. And at that moment, Rebus wanted to burn them all. The black-haired guy remembers being furious, then he couldn't talk to the lady normally. And he didn't want to be rude to her, but Lars came and stopped him. Rebus looked at the girl's hands and thought that, fortunately, almost everything had healed, and it must be thanks to his magic. The dark-haired guy kisses the girl's hand and thinks about whatever happens in the future. He thinks that everything will be fine. However, the dragon does not understand what he is doing now and why this sweet girl became his contractor. Because he feels like he has gone too far, because he wants someone who will love him, someone kind who will not harm him. Rebus understands that he knows little about love between people and does not know how he can give kindness and love. However, in any case, he will try his best so that the young lady can find a suitable match. The dragon reflects on the fact that the girl is so stupid and naive, and if he does not choose a partner for her like in her past life, she will fall in love with a strange guy with whom it will not be easy for her. The black-haired guy thinks that he has so many things that he needs to take care of and also punish this guy. In the morning, the main character looked out the window and saw people who were fussing around a lot. The dragon claims that this is not something she should worry about. Suddenly, the girl heard Lark's father calling her. He enters the room and asks, screaming, where she was today. The girl answers that she was in the room the whole time. Rubain tells her not to lie and asks if she locked Martin in the warehouse. The man suggests that she answer honestly because she did it. Elaine replies that if he doubts her, he can ask Lark. The main character claims that she was just examined by a doctor brought by Lars. The angry Count does not understand who could have done this if not the girl. Rubain orders Elaine not to leave her room again. However, if she draws attention to herself, she will be punished. When Dad leaves, Ellie asks Elaine if she's sure it wasn't her. The girl replies that she just found out that Martin was locked in the warehouse. You offer to tell your cousin what's going on. Surprised, Ellie asks that. Living in the same house, she didn't hear anything or see Martin in the morning. Since they searched the whole house to find him, Martin wanted to ride a horse, and while he went to the warehouse for a saddle, someone locked him inside the warehouse. The guy stayed there for half a day, and no matter how much he screamed, no one heard him. Martin was so scared because it was dark in the warehouse, and he cried from hopelessness. Hearing this, the main character thought that Martin, who locked her in the tomb yesterday, was locked in the warehouse today. The girl thought that this was a coincidence. However, she asks her cousin why she came to her. Angry Ellie says that it is understandable, because no one but her would take revenge on him. Hearing this, the main character was surprised and asked if she wanted to say that. Because of this incident, she wanted to take revenge on him. The cousin claims that it is obvious, even to a fool, that Elaine has decided to take revenge on Martin. Hearing this, the lady replies that she would never do such a thing to anyone. However, she was locked in a tomb. Elaine asks if she thinks she was happy there. The girl claims she would have known what Elaine felt then. Hearing this, the cousin says that his sister is terrible and leaves her. The main character thought it was strange because, like last time, Martin got it again. The girl thought about who was making fun of him like that because she couldn't understand the offender. The dark dragon claims that he knows, because she is like a saint and maybe God is just protecting her. Hearing this, the main character wondered if this was possible. Elaine looks at the dragon and says that he is always near her. Rebus asks in surprise if she thinks he could do such a thing. He does not understand why he would do such a thing. The girl asks if she said that he did it. The dragon replies that she did not say that. However, the girl does not understand who did it and suggests that maybe it is somehow connected with the fact that she returned to the past and does not behave as before. Elaine realizes that the meeting and incident with Martin are events that are very different from her previous life. The woman asks if she is the new student Mrs. Newt was talking about, and if she is Count Newt's niece. Elaine replies that she is glad to see Madame Bellini and introduces herself by giving her name. The teacher suggests that they sit down, as classes will begin when Miss Ellie arrives. The surprised girl asks if she will be getting an education. Lars answers that from now on she will be attending classes with Ellie. However, the girl says that this is sudden. Lars replies that he told her that he would treat her as a member of the Nude family. He says that all that is required of the girl is to attend classes for 3 days, because the guy hopes that she will cope with this task. The main character remembers that in her past life, she did not receive an education. However, even if she wanted to, no one would give it to her. The lady does not know what will happen next, but strange things still continue to happen. Suddenly, Ellie enters the room and announces that her friend Lorena wants to attend the same class. The young lady does not understand why this girl came here. Elaine noticed that the girls were smiling and thought that they were somehow trying to insult her. The teacher says that she is pleased to see the lovely ladies and offers to start the first lesson of the year. Suddenly, Lars enters the room and apologizes because he arrived a little late. The teacher asks what is it, and the boy explains that he would like to watch today's lesson and asks if she minds. Since starting this year, he plans to take charge of his younger siblings' studies. Lars claims that he was too busy and neglected their education. He tells the teacher not to worry about him and continue the lesson. The woman says that he is a great older brother. The teacher starts the lesson with an easy question. Since they studied the culture and religion of the imperial nobles last year, do they remember how many Laom temples there are in the empire? Ellie raises her hand and says there are 5 in each major city, and there are 2 in the small and medium-sized cities and 1 in the villages. That makes 102 temples. Bellini said the girl had answered correctly. The next question the teacher asked was that their empire has a special culture that demonstrates the piety of the nobles, and this is a system of saints. And could they explain what they know about this system? Lorena says that every noble family invites one of the direct children of the head of the family to enter the temple, and this is the system that allows people to study the words of Bara. Ellie claims that the church accepts teenagers, but the successors are excluded from this list. Upon entering the church, men are called saints and women are called shrines. Unless special circumstances arise, they will live in the temple until the coming-of-age ceremony. The teacher praised them, but looked at Lars and asked Elaine if she wanted to answer. However, the girl was rubbing herself, and the teacher said that Elaine clearly did not know. Ellie claims that she probably hasn't even opened the basic textbooks. Lorena says that the question is whether she can read it all, and she turns to the teacher, saying that she might put the girl in an awkward position if she keeps asking. Elaine says that direct children of the head of the family are eligible for admission, but in special cases, even the nephew of the head of the family may be eligible for the allowance. Also, the adopted child, the child of poor health, the child of an early marriage, and the child of a Templar are also eligible for initiation. However, not everyone manages to hold the coming-of-age ceremony. At such moments, the family collapses or disowns such children. Therefore, such children usually become temple servants. After all, no one is holding them there, and they can leave at any time, since they basically have nowhere to go and no money even for food. That is why a large number of children prefer to stay in the temple. The surprised teacher heard this and asked how Miss Elaine knew all this. The girl replied that she had read about it in a book. Bellini said that it seemed that Miss had been studying hard all this time. The woman says that in religion there is 1 main holy scripture and 12 great scriptures. She asks if they can name all the names of the great scriptures. The young ladies remember, but they cannot name more than 5, and Miss Elaine suggests that they should name them in the correct order, which is recognized in the main scripture. The main character names all these scriptures and thus causes surprise to all these people. The teacher says with delight that this is incredible because the lady knows the name of the small scriptures. Bellini says that the girl should not worry about her studies because she knows a lot. Walking down the hallway, Ellie suggests to her friend that they shame Elaine right in the classroom. After all, she doesn't know anything anyway, and she won't be able to answer any questions. Lauren agrees to try and embarrass her in front of Madame Bellini, because after that, Elaine will definitely not want to show up to class anymore. However, after hearing Elaine's answer, Lorena realizes that if this continues, she doesn't know how she can look Lars in the eyes. The teacher suggests that they take a look at the first chapter of their new book, because in it they will learn about social etiquette, which they have been waiting for so long. Bellini asks if they know anything about social etiquette. Lorena says that girls entering society need to remember the hierarchy of each family, where a person of low rank cannot start talking to a person of higher rank. Lorena says that, besides, even on a walk, they must be accompanied by an escort or a partner. The girl studied this last year, so she will not have any difficulty answering such questions. She thought that Elaine must have difficulty. The teacher praises Lorena and then asks what Miss Elaine knows. The girl replies that she does not think she will ever be able to join society because she has never been trained. Bellini doesn't understand what they should do because it will be difficult to change the lesson material now. However, Lars argues that they don't need to change the class material because social etiquette is something that Elaine needs to be taught since she will be joining society. The young gentleman claims that the Newts are not so poor that they cannot support their relative's social debut, and it will not be difficult for them. Hearing this, the teacher says that she will count on him because it is a great idea, and Miss Elaine has a very generous uncle. The girl thought that a man who forces his nephew to live in an old attic will never be kind, and he still gives her a chance to enter the secular world. Elaine wonders whether Lars has made a mistake or whether he wants to save face in front of Madame Bellini. When the teacher left, Lorena tells Lars that she thinks she has a lot to learn from Elaine, since she wanted to see the teacher off at the end, but for some reason she ended up staying in the room. Lars claims that it is his fault because he neglected Elaine's education and he still has a lot to teach her. However, the guy remembers that she answered questions quite well, so there is nothing to worry about. The young gentleman is more concerned about Ellie because in the first lesson this year, he decided to see how she had learned the material from last year. He asks his sister if he asked her to prepare better for the lesson. Lars tells his sister to explain what kind of awkward answer he heard in class. The girl answers worriedly that she was prepared, and the brother says that after that, she still dared to make fun of Elaine. He asks the girl if she understands how she embarrassed herself in front of the teacher Bellini, because he almost died of shame sitting there. Ellie says she is very sorry, but her brother objects and says he does not need her regrets and suggests she pull herself together. Since at this rate, after her debut, the focus of the nude family will not be her, but Elaine. Hearing this, her sister bursts into tears. After school, Lorena came to Ellie's father and asked for forgiveness for distracting him from work. The gentleman, having calmed the girl down, suggests that she not worry about this and asks what brought her to him. Lorena claims that something is bothering her because she was in philosophy class today with Ellie and Elaine was there too. Mr. Nude reports that he has certainly managed to persuade Ellie to attend classes with Elaine. However, he feels that this will not last long. The young lady says that this is not the case, and the Count suggests that she can tell the truth because he will not be angry. The girl says that she is very ashamed to say such a thing, but Elaine wants to seduce Mr. Lark. Lorena says she knows it's not appropriate to say something like that at their age, but she just doesn't know how else to say it. The girl claims that Lars was present at the lesson today, and before he came to the lesson, Elaine behaved simply terribly. But as soon as he entered, her behavior changed in the same second. And then every time she answered Madame Bellini's question, she smiled, looking at Lars. Lorena claims that those eyes and smile were so mysterious, as if just one look was not enough for her. Since it looked so strange, she decided to tell the Count everything. The girl says that she heard that Lars and Elaine's relationship has also changed in the last few months. Count Nude asks Lorena not to tell anyone else about this situation. The girl agrees and says that otherwise she would not have come to him personally. Lars's father thanks the girl and says that she doesn't have to worry about it anymore because he will take care of this misunderstanding for his daughter-in-law. Sitting at the table, Dad says that this year they need to choose someone to go to the temple and asks if they have forgotten about it. Mom says that Damon still seems like a child, and she is so worried that she can't let him go alone. Hearing this, Mr. Nude said that it was too early for him to join the church, and he was thinking of sending Elaine there. Hearing this, Lars asks why he is talking about this so suddenly. He asks if it is okay to send Elaine there while leaving his direct relative here. His father claims that, as his mother had said earlier, Damon is not much older than his peers, and he thinks he still has a lot to learn. Lars doesn't understand why they are dragging it out any longer, because at that age, his father already sent him to church. And he doesn't understand why they are still protecting his younger brother, and asks if his grandfather would have allowed this if he were in his place. Count Newt says that he has already spoken with the priest, and they are ready to accept Elaine. Lars agrees with his father and says that if he so wishes, then his son will not object. However, he will have to give up the connections he has established inside the temple. The father replies that he does not think it is worth clinging to ridiculous rumors among children, since it does not have much meaning for them. The young gentleman asks if his father means to say that after he sends Elaine to the temple, he will no longer care what happens to her there. Lars says that everything is fine and offers to promise him one thing. Since from now on he will be responsible for Elaine's life and where she will live after leaving the temple, since he does not intend to abandon her or hand her over to an orphanage. The father heard this and did not understand what his son was talking about and asked if this would bring them more problems. The young gentleman asks why the father is so surprised. Because they must raise her better and give her to a worthy man. In their family, where there is only one daughter, Elaine, this is the hand of hope that they cannot lose. Count Newt agrees with his son and says with a smile that it is true. He says that he recently spoke with Count Dardil, and he wanted them to have his and Larina's engagement before the initiation ceremony. Lars does not understand why this has to happen before the sainthood. Father says that Larina has also joined the school. Although her younger brother was originally supposed to join the school, but they say that he was unable to do so due to pneumonia. The young gentleman tells Count Dardil that they will do as he wishes. Hearing this, the parents are very surprised, and the father thought that it was very good because his son is not one of those guys who forget about their fatherly duties because of a girl. And it seems to him that he worried in vain. Sitting at the table, Count Newt turns to Elaine and says that the reason he has gathered everyone here for dinner is her. The Count reports that they have decided to appoint her as a member of their family and invite her to join their church. However, this was initially impossible due to her background, but with great effort he managed to achieve this. The girl thought that this was the same as throwing her out of the house, and this favor would not change their attitude towards her anyway. Count Newt says that the girl should be grateful for this. Elaine replies that she understood everything, because Damon is the second heir. She will go to the temple instead of him. Lars's father then suggests hurrying to pack all the things. The girl says that in addition to the things provided to her in the temple, she needs to prepare her personal things and therefore she will need a bag for luggage. Elaine says that she could go to the store in the city center, but she has no money at all and asks if they could help her with this. Lars says that he has some business in the city this Thursday and invites the girl to go with him. She does not ask if she has to go with him. However, as long as she has money, she can take care of it herself. Young gentleman asks who else but him would trust her with his purse. However, if they go together, he could buy her a couple of new things. Elaine wondered why Lars had decided to interfere, since it made her feel awkward. However, she didn't want to miss the opportunity to buy what she needed and agreed with the guy. Count Newt thought it was odd, since it wasn't that Elaine was seducing Lars, but rather that she was trying to avoid him. However, he thought he might be wrong. The young lady writes down 1 spare set of church clothes, 3 pairs of stockings, 3 pairs of underwear, 2 bars of soap, 1 soapbox, 5 notebooks, a dozen pencils, and remembers what else she will need at the temple. The dark bird asks if there are too many things. The lady replies that clothes and books are covered by the entrance fee that a family pays when joining the church. However, consumables must be prepared at one's own expense. The dragon says that they are literally taking a nobleman hostage to the temple and asks why she should pay for anything at all. Elaine replies that she does not think that saints should be considered hostages. Rebus says that as people become higher in status, they become more hypocritical. Among them, the most hypocritical people are priests and clerics, as was the case 500 years ago, so it is likely now. Elaine claims that not everyone is like he said. However, there are people she truly respects. The surprised dragon asks which of them objected to her being sacrificed. The main character says that at that time they hastily accepted this conclusion because it was also an order from His Majesty the Emperor. Rebus claims that if they were so loyal and loved the weak, they would have to offer themselves as sacrifices. However, they must have all felt relieved that one of them was not chosen as a sacrifice. The dragon says that not only they, but all the citizens of the Empire, including the commoners, felt relieved. He says that human nature is just a disgusting thing. Elaine thought that she couldn't say that Rebus was wrong. However, when she was taken to the Kalgor cave, the imperial family didn't seem to care who died. The nobles were eager to count their profits, and the commoners were busy watching with some curiosity. The girl remembers that the priests of the Temple of Paulo, none of them could look her in the eyes. However, the girl claims that she believes that there are good people. Rebus claims that he knew the girl would say that, and asks her if she has ever met a good man. The lady replies that of course she has, and he already knows her. Elaine explains that this person is Emily, because in both her past life and her present life, she is the person who has shown her pure kindness with no ulterior motives. The main character says that although she did not meet them in her past life, She is sure that there are priests that she respects. However, Elaine hopes that she might be lucky enough to meet them in this life. The dragon says that the girl is too trusting and suggests that she not make the same mistake twice. The lady thought about Rebus not trusting people too much, and she thought about how to help him learn to trust. The young lady ponders that if this continues, she doesn't think the dragon will give up on his goal of burning the entire empire to ashes. Elaine thanks the dragon for coming with her. The dark bird replies that it was simply an opportunity to see the human world. However, he asks if she knows what might happen if the lady is alone with that guy. The girl replies that he shouldn't have worried so much. Lars asks Elaine if she has prepared a list of things to buy. The girl gives him a sheet of paper with everything written on it. After reading it, his boyfriend says that he won't be able to remember it anyway, because he didn't think that girls need so much to take care of themselves. The young gentleman says that he will take the list with him and also offers the girl to get into the carriage. Looking at the lady, the guy asks if she is surprised. However, just let her not tell him that she was thinking of going to the carriage alone. The surprised dragon doesn't understand what to do in this situation because the guy is doing weird tricks. He understands that Elaine is in trouble, and he can't do anything about it. The main character sees that Rebus clearly doesn't like this, but Lars is showing too much initiative, and she thinks that it's not worth resisting yet. Lars says it would be more convenient to take a servant with him, but the girl objects because she can carry her things herself. The guy says she is stupid because he told her she shouldn't bother anymore. The young gentleman, reading the list, says that they will start with the clothes for the saints, since they can order it today, but they will have to wait up to 2 weeks. Hearing this, the lady suggests taking the ready-made clothes. Lars angrily asks if she's kidding and thinks it would be acceptable for Newt's family to buy some ready-made Dutchman clothes. The guy explains that the ritual of dedication of a saint is a great event and asks if she wants to disgrace their family. The main character remembers that about her past life she entered the temple even without special clothes. Elaine answers that they will be pleased if he buys it. The young gentleman tells the girl to be careful because she almost collided with a man. He tells her to be careful and look ahead. The dragon tells the girl that this is another stupid trick. However, the girl does not understand how to explain to Rebus that this happened because of her. After reading the list, Lars says that there is a lingerie store next, and the girl suggests going there herself. The guy looks at her and asks why she is so shy. He suggests not to talk nonsense and follow him. Entering the shop, the young gentleman orders to give them a set of underwear for the girl and also regular and winter stockings. While in the shop, the main character realizes that there is a lot of unusual underwear there. The saleswoman informs them that they have underwear made of regular cotton, thin high-quality cotton, and high-quality Arabic cotton, and asks what exactly they are interested in. Lars says to show the one made of Arabian cotton. The girl heard this and thought that it was incredibly expensive, and she tells the guy that he shouldn't take something so expensive. The young gentleman replies that she need not worry since the Newt family always buys Arabic. Hearing this, the dragon tells Elaine that this bastard shows off more often than he breathes. Lars orders to give him 5 sets of underwear and 5 sets of stockings for each season. Elaine thought about how awkward and embarrassed she was that Lars would see the lingerie she would be wearing, but she knew she had to be patient until she got everything she wanted. The young lady turns to Lars and says that after 5 years of being in the temple, her size may change significantly. And she offers the guy to exchange 2 sets for a slightly larger size. The green gentleman asks Elaine how long she will embarrass him. Lars is told that he only went there to pay for all this, and she makes him look at a bigger set. The guy tells the saleswomen to create a book of accounts for Helen Newt. The young gentleman says that from now on, the girl doesn't have to worry about money because the family will pay all the expenses, and he offers to buy her everything she likes. Elaine asks in surprise if his father will be against it. Lars says that he doesn't care because he decided to leave all the problems associated with you to him. Rebus angrily says that this damn family treats her like property. He feels like her uncle betrayed this guy's right to use this property. The main character reflects on how lately she really feels like someone's property. However, in her past life, she was also the property of a family where Lars's opinion determined her life. Elaine realizes that even if he takes care of her differently than then, he still considers her his property. The main character does not understand how this life is different from the previous one. After all, she should probably stop worrying about him so much because she should become indifferent to Lars. After all, she has no intention of becoming this guy's property. Elaine reflects on the fact that she won't let him twist her around his finger again. Lars says that notepads and writing instruments are next in line. He says that he knows a good store nearby. Rebus asks if she thinks the guy is strangely excited. The girl smiles and says that unlike her, Lars is feeling better than everyone else. Suddenly, Lars meets Lorena and her mother. The guy greeted them and said that they had just decided to buy things for Elaine before her initiation ceremony. The young gentleman says he heard that Lorena has already joined the church and asks if that is true. The woman asks if that means he is packing for his cousin. The guy says that since he is the eldest brother in the family, he must take care of his younger brothers and sisters. Since his mother is busy, she left Elaine in his care. Lars says that he would like to talk to them some more, but unfortunately they don't have much time and they need to go. Mrs. Dardell says she dare not detain them and tells Lorena that she should also say goodbye to Mr. Lark. The girl says that they will see each other again, and the boy agrees with her and says that in 2 weeks their engagement ceremony will take place. Hearing this, Elaine was very surprised. However, the dragon looked at Lorena's face and said that she always has such a face when she tries to hurt Elaine. The main character thought that she would like to know the reason why Lorena hates her so much. Lars, walking with full bags, says that he could use a servant's help right now. The girl thought that it wasn't her idea to buy so many things. Suddenly, the guy suggests that the girl wait for him because he's going to the Sacred Relics store. Rebus asks the girl if she likes me and when Lars buys something for her. The main character replies that these are all just things that she will need in the temple, because she wanted to pamper herself and therefore asked to buy something that she did not have before. The dragon tells her not to say that she fell in love with this guy again. The girl says no and asks why he thinks so. The dark bird notices that he is once again doing something stupid, and he claims that this will not happen again. Rebus reminds the girl that if she needs anything, she can always ask him for it. And no matter what things she has now, he can always give her even better. Elaine laughed when she heard this, because dragon magic by its nature cannot create something out of nothing. The girl is interested in the question of where he plans to get everything he needs. However, she has a person who cares about her. The main character remembers that in her past life, the engagement ceremony took place only 2 years later. And she does not understand why they decided to hold it now. The dragon says that it is because a girl named Lorena has already been accepted into the church, because it is not hard to guess when those two girls only whisper about it. Elaine knows that this is no reason to rush the engagement. However, the fact that she is a member of the church does not mean that she should immediately get married. Since several people from his past shoes got engaged only after 2 years of reupholstering the temple, Rebus claims that perhaps this is somehow connected with her stay. But in any case, this event will not bring anything bad and suggested that the girl not worry. The timing of the engagement was rather unexpected, and in fact, so was Elaine's invitation to it. The girl was more surprised by the fact that the lady who sent the letter with the invitation was Lorena. The dragon heard this and did not understand the meaning of human engagements. However, he reasoned that if they were right for each other, then why hold a whole ceremony to confess it again? Elaine explains that weddings are primarily about declaring fidelity and promising to be together until death. At the very least, this will demonstrate a godly bond between the families of the newlyweds. The main character says that she thinks that this is often what a noble marriage looks like, because she has heard that they are more needed for business than for the happiness of the couple themselves. Rebus looks at Lorena and wonders if she is expressing genuine love. The main character explains that Lorena really likes Lars, but sometimes such people are lucky. However, the young lady claims that in the end, being happy means being with those you love. The dragon claims that her cousin does not seem like that, and it seems that he does not care about Lorena at all. The main character remembers that Lorena used to have a happy relationship with Lars, but it did not last long. Time passed, and she could not understand why he did not give her the attention he had before. Lorena really didn't understand what she had done to deserve such treatment. Even after he threw her into the temple and married Lars, she still felt all the burdens she had experienced in the church, full of loneliness and suffering. Elaine recalls that Lorena then put her to hard work in the kitchen, and it was she who prompted Rubain to take her as a ward from the old nobleman. From that moment on, the main character's life turned into hell because of Lorena. The main character reflected on what she thought was the reason why she was not loved. However, in any case, what Lorena did to her was nothing more than revenge. The priest announces with the blessing of Saint Barna that at this wonderful time, when everything around comes to life, 2 young people will make a promise that binds them to a long and happy life. Looking at the young couple, the young lady thinks that Lorena is just lucky. While she is full of joy, Lars looks bored, as if he was forced to do some troublesome task. Rabe says that he, of course, does not have the gift of foresight, But he sees that this girl's future will not go as she imagined. Count Newt addresses the guests and says that his son Lars and Miss Lorena Countess Dardeal are engaged tonight, and he thanks everyone who has joined them on this promising evening. With this engagement, the Newt family and the Dardeal seed will become even closer partners. Hearing this, Elaine says that she thought so because it is just a marriage business between two families. Rebus says that it does not matter to them anyway. Elaine thought that she would never allow someone else to dictate the terms of her marriage. The dragon looked at the girl and remarked that she was pushing too hard on the sweets. The young lady explains that sweet food is rare in the temple, and so she enjoys it while she can. The surprised dragon asks if she likes it since it is all sticky and crumbly. The main character says that whenever she eats cakes, her mood rises many times. However, this happens every day. The girl asks if Mr. Rebus has ever tried something like this. The dragon says that he cannot eat human food because he would not be interested, because it is better that he tasted this fresh core of a freshly killed demon. The surprised girl thinks that she can't even imagine what a demonic core tastes like. Suddenly, Lorena comes to Elaine and says that she leads that the girl is having a good time. You heard this, the main character thought about why she decided to approach her. Elaine replies that she is having a good time and thanks for the invitation. The young lady also congratulates her on her engagement. Lorena thanks for the congratulations and asks if she finally understood that Lars is only her fiancé. The main character assures the girl that she always considered them ideal for each other, because everyone around her only talks about it. Lorena claims that the lady may not pretend because she saw Elaine wagging her tail after her Lars. After all, she knows that every night she went into his bedroom and talked to him about something. Hearing this, the main character understood what was going on. Elaine recalls that because of the bullying from her cousins, she often went to the young master to complain to at least someone. Elaine reveals that it is of course true that she visited Lars occasionally and explains that she never had any nefarious intentions. However, it was simply the only way to meet him in person. Lorena talks about how a grown girl comes into the room of a handsome and stately guy at night and asks how she can be sure that she did not have any pure intentions. Hearing this, the main character explains that she just needed to talk to someone. Lorena asks, screaming angrily, why it had to be Lars. The girl remembers that among all the cousins who bullied and intimidated her, Lars was the coldest and most cruel person among them. The main character replies that she thought that Lars was the only one in their house who could understand her problems. However, around the end of last year, she realized that this was not the case. And she claims that Lorena no longer has anything to worry about since she is no longer in check and does not approach the guy. Lorena says that if something like this happens again in the future, she will not tolerate it anymore and suggests that the lady not look so vulgar because it infuriates her. As Lorena left, she thought that this was enough to scare Elaine, but she was still annoyed by this annoying bitch. Suddenly, Elaine says that Lorena should take care of her Lars, not her. Because the main character also does not understand why Lars suddenly began to care about her. However, she thinks that the guy is up to something. These words excited the Countess, and she asks in surprise what she is talking about. The main character is interested in repeating it to her again, and then says that she would be grateful if she thought about the actions of the lark and not hers, because now she is his bride and only she has the right to do something about it. The Countess says that she was going to do it anyway, even without her ridiculous words about him. The main character thanks the lady and says that then she will count on her. Countess Dardeal asks her daughter if she can come to her for a moment. She agrees and leaves with her mother. Elaine sighed with relief as she managed to get rid of this annoying lady. The dragon enthusiastically tells his mistress that it was amazing as it was like she verbally kicked her ass and he is amazed. Rebus asks if she did it without a second thought, and then says that it was very spectacular because he felt like he was watching two cocks fighting. The dragon looked at the lark and thought that he had been watching them from afar for a long time, and this irritated him. The young lady knows that there are 3 days left until the initiation ceremony, and she looks through her things and realizes that Lark still bought her more things than expected. But she knows that thanks to them, her life in the temple will be a little easier. The main character remembers that in her past life she had a hard time because of their lack, and at the time when she had not yet received a scholarship, she had to write with a carelessly sharpened small pencil on a thin sheet of paper that she took from the priest. Elaine remembers that the only monk's robe she had had to be washed every day. And on those days when she did not have time to do it, she had to catch sidelong glances from the surrounding students. And her classmates despised her for such behavior, and calling her family Staina Newt. The young lady knows that this time it won't happen, and she can't stop thinking about her previous life in the temple. The dragon tells the girl not to worry because she has not forgotten that this time he will be with her. The lady says that she heard that in the sacred temple it is forbidden to use magic power, and the bird asks why she is back to her old ways, and then suggests not to worry because he can protect her without her help. Suddenly, Elaine heard someone knocking on her door and she asked who was there. The gentleman answered that it was him. The young lady opens the door and asks what's the matter. He turns to her and says that when guests come, you first have to invite them in. The girl asks if they really need to talk inside the room. Lark says that of course she should learn more about noble etiquette. The young gentleman explains that he has come to give it to him now because he may be busy in the future. He claims that a true believer must have at least one holy relic. Elaine looked at the box and asked what it was. He offered to open it, and when the girl did, she saw a golden cross in it. The young lady asks why he decided to give it to her. The gentleman reminds her that he said that every believer should have at least one sacred relic. Hearing this, the main character thought that their conversation had gone in the wrong direction. And she thinks that he seriously does not understand what she is trying to convey to him because she understands that giving a cross as a personal gift has a special meaning. Elaine asks if he bought it when he went into the relic shop. He claims it's impolite to ask such a question. The young lady realizes that Lark, who is not very religious, bought something in the relic store and she knows that it is too expensive a gift, and if Lorena finds out about it, she will make a fuss. The gift of a cross from a person of the same age means to think about him every time you pray, and this gift expresses a tender and intimate gesture. And the main character thinks that it is impossible for Lark not to know this. Elaine asks if it wouldn't be better to give something like this to Lorena, and then says that she will be able to get a wooden cross at the entrance to the temple anyway. And the gentleman replies that he is sure that Lorena's family will be able to take care of her. The young lady explains that she did not mean that. Lark turns to the girl and says that he hasn't seen her wear the ribbon he gave her. The lady replies that it just didn't fit her. The gentleman explains that it doesn't matter whether it suits her or not, because there is sincerity on the part of the person who gave it to her, and therefore he believes that this cannot be ignored. And then the guy touches her hair and says that this ribbon suits her very well. The dragon thought that he didn't like this guy from the very beginning. Lark turns to the young lady and says that in any case she needs to prepare well for the ceremony. Then he offers to make sure that she doesn't forget anything, and he leaves. Rebus asks Elaine how she feels. She says she doesn't understand why their fates keep getting intertwined. Then she says that when he looks at her, he probably thinks how pathetic she is and asks why she is still so weak. The main character does not understand why in her second life nothing will stop better. However, she knows that she does not want to be controlled because she wants to be strong. It seems to her that she hates herself for her helplessness, and it became interesting what if her life will also collapses then. However, the bird claims that this will not happen and asks her to lift her head and look at him. He asks if her life in the past depended on this guy, and then claims that it is normal to be afraid of the one who manipulated her before, because he thinks that she is doing a good job of it. Rebus explains that at first when she told him not to finish off these people, he began to worry that she was being used again, like in her past life. And then he says that he was wrong because she achieved outstanding results that even he was sometimes surprised by. The dragon offers to see that they were able to deal with this family without even resorting to murder. The girl asks the bird if he really doesn't think she's stupid. He replies that it's a stupid question and suggests listening to the end. Then he says that truly great people have always been much stupider. Rebus says that he certainly can't predict whether she will become a great person, but she clearly has the potential for it. And then he claims that her courage is growing right before his eyes. The main character thanks him and then states that she will try her best. The dragon suggests that she should not try too hard because he thinks that she will quickly get exhausted and says that she is doing great as is. And that is enough. The day before the initiation ceremony, Lorena's relatives, Baron Ezile and his wife, came to the mansion of the Count of Dardel. The uncle turns to the girl in surprise and says with delight how she has managed to grow up during this time. And the aunt says that after the engagement, she became even happier. The Baron explains that he was going to visit his brother if possible. Lorena suggests that they go with their aunt to the living room. The woman explains that she is very sorry that they could not attend her engagement and then offers to accept a gift as an apology. The girl thanks her aunt and she congratulates her again. The Baroness says that she still continues to worry about her because she heard that there is a bad atmosphere in the Newt family now. The lady asks in surprise what she is talking about. The aunt replies that she is talking about the female problem in this family, and then asks if she remembers the story of Reuben Newt, who fell in love with his sister, thereby tarnishing the honor of his family. The Baroness claims that it was not a scandalous affair as rumors say, because she believes that Count Nude wanted to discipline his wayward sister. And since it was a long time ago, she believes that there is nothing wrong with keeping it a secret. The woman says that she heard that Count Newt's sister had a daughter the same age as her. Then she says that not long ago her fiancé was at the market and there were people who saw him with her. Auntie says that of course she understands that no one is stopping him from taking after his father, because she herself saw how he grew up. And besides, the Empire allows cousins to marry. Hearing this, Lorena screams and says that Lark is already engaged to her. The Baroness tells her not to jump to conclusions until she is completely sure of this. And then she says that she is only saying this because she is worried about her niece and therefore suggests that she not take it too seriously. The girl thought that this couldn't be because her Lark would never allow this nasty girl to be near him. She remembers that since they first met when she was 7 years old, she really liked him. Lorena understands that when she heard Lark first talk about marriage, it seemed to her that her heart was about to jump out of her chest. And even at their recent engagement, when they exchanged rings with each other, she was so happy that tears welled up in her eyes. Lorena understands that Elaine has always been an eyesore, but knows that she is not even a noblewoman. But at the same time, she continued to portray herself as a victim and squeeze pity out of Lark. The Countess thinks that Elaine and Larka's wedding is just awful. And the whole problem is only this bitch. Because if she hadn't been born into this world, you would think that everything would have been fine with her. The girl understands that Elaine is also going to join the church, and she believes that unexpected circumstances may occur in the temple that will make her disappear once and for all. The uncle turns to his niece and congratulates her once again on her engagement and wishes her a good time at the temple. She thanks him and asks him to be careful on the way back. Sitting in the carriage, the gentleman says that Lorene had a very sour expression at the end, and then asks his wife what she told her. She asks if he is now talking about the dirty incest in the Newt family. The lady explains that she only warned that Lark might make the same mistake, and then says that she is also worried about the girl. He asks if his wife thinks that this might shock her. The Baroness asks in surprise what shock he is talking about, and then says that she thought he would understand what she was talking about. The woman says she remembers Mrs. Dardile smugly saying she was Count Newt's mother-in-law, and then asks if it might be better to just help break up the engagement. The Baron asks if she really thinks his greedy older brother would break off the engagement over such a trivial thing, and then says that he would advise Lorena to just endure and live with it. The wife reports that she thinks that this will be beneficial in its own way for them, since she knows that it will take a day or two to please Count Dardil, since she believes that after that they will be ready to satisfy any of their whims. The day of initiation into sainthood has arrived, and the main character understands that this is the day of the beginning of her life in the temple, and also the last day in the Nude family. The maid brought the girl fresh cookies and asked her to take them with her since she had prepared them herself and told her to eat them when she was hungry. The maid apologizes and explains that she has to work and therefore will not be able to see her out, and then says that she remained as healthy as she is now. Elaine says that she hopes that everything will be okay with her too, and she also has hope that they will meet again. The main character remembers that before she was accompanied only by her uncle and Lark, but looking at them, she thought that this even somehow resembled a family walk. The dragon tells the girl that this is their system of holiness in the country, and he does not know who came up with it. But he was clearly very smart, because he believes that this is a way for the temple to effectively control the nobility. And perhaps the imperial family also uses the temple for their own benefit. The girl thought that this time she felt better because Rebus was with her. The young lady looked at the temple and thought that she was there again, but she felt like she was there for the first time. The bird asked the girl if she missed that place. Elaine replies that it may be, but after all, that is where she spent 10 years of her life. The main character looked at the children, and the dragon said that they live too carefree and do not even suspect that this is all because she entered the temple instead of them. Elaine tells him not to worry because she never expected their gratitude. Then she tells him that it is much better for her to worry about what is in front of her now than to place pointless hopes on the future. Because she is different from the Elaine she was before. The young lady knows that her past life in the temple was really difficult, and she was called the stain of the Newt family, and therefore no one from the temple wanted to contact her. The girl realizes that this time she doesn't want to go through all that again. The dragon tells her that she doesn't have to worry because she now has a reliable friend. The lady asks if it's true and then asks who. The bird replies that of course it's him. Lark turns to the girl and then asks what she is doing and suggests that they go already. And at that time, she thought that this time she would not be alone and this would be the beginning of her new life in the temple. Rebus asks in surprise if the sainthood ceremony is held there. She replies that he is right, and then says that it is just like at the market. The young gentleman tells the girl that he will be with his uncle on the second floor and tells her to come there after the initiation ceremony. The dragon says that finally this guy won't be an eyesore for a while. And the girl thought that she also feels some relief and understands that this time he won't push her around anymore. The priest suggests that everyone take their seats because the imperial family will soon arrive. And the main character thought that everything will begin soon. The dragon asks the lady who will speak on behalf of the imperial family. She replies that at the last New Year's service, His Majesty the Emperor was present. But this time, the event will be attended by the coronation of Princess Anais and Prince Abel. Elaine looked at them and thought that they hadn't changed at all since her previous life. Crown Princess Anais is also known for her golden eyes, proving that she is of royal blood. And thanks to her noble and wise character, she enjoyed great popularity among the people. Prince Abel also had a handsome appearance and a gentle character, which gave him the support of many people among the people. The girl overheard a conversation between two women about how Prince Abel looked so attractive, and she heard that he was the first of his kind to be so handsome. The lady thinks that it is not surprising because no one would be ugly from the blood of the Marquis of Hebron. After all, she believes that if you compare him with Her Majesty the Crown Queen, who looks like His Majesty the Empress, then Prince Abel looks very much like His Majesty the Emperor. The woman says that the Emperor loves Abel, and it's probably more about his personality than his looks. And the Crown Princess is reliable but has no charm. But the prince seems like the perfect son for the Emperor. The dragon tells the girl that the prince is the perfect person to discuss with unmarried women, and then asks if she thinks he's handsome too. She replies that she probably does. Rebus says that it seems that these two do not get along very well, and then says that he does not know if this was true. But until now, these are people who in a few years will become bitter enemies. The reason why Prince Abel was able to ascend to the imperial throne was the generous permission of Her Majesty the Empress, who wanted to give Princess Anais at least one more brother or sister. However, there were rumors about an assassination attempt on Her Majesty the Empress, initiated by Sasha Hebron, Prince Abel's mother. The rumors were of course quickly buried, but from that moment on, Princess Anais drew a clear line between Prince Abel, whom she loved like a brother. So, in the future, after a few years, Prince Abel became the crown prince, and the crown princess Anais will marry abroad. And the main character understands that perhaps this happened against their will. The dragon says that he believes that the relationship between them has deteriorated not because of the magical power that this guy named Abel has. Hearing this, the main character asks what he is talking about. He replies that he could not be mistaken because he is sowing a strange magical aura, and he can confidently say that this aura is quite strong. The bird says that it seems to him that he has already met something similar somewhere and asks if Prince Abel has magical powers. The girl thought that she had never heard before that wizards were born into the imperial family, because the first emperors did not have magical powers, and this would only be impossible if the emperor's wife was not a witch. Elaine understands that witches, in turn, were a traditionally persecuted group, and that for an emperor to have a child from love for a witch, this simply cannot happen. At least if the emperor knew in advance that the woman was a witch, then does that mean that Miss Hebron hid the fact that she was a witch? The girl understands that according to rumors from other people in her family, she has never heard any rumors about witches or wizards. In noble families, magical power was always tested during the baptism of a child. And if a witch was accidentally born into the family, she was immediately rejected so as not to harm her reputation, and was finished off. Elaine thought about what she heard that the descendants of emperors were covered with several layers of magical shield, and therefore she thought that perhaps Rebus felt it. The high priest says that they are beginning the initiation ceremony. The dragon finds it incredible that even the king's grandsons show respect to the priest, and therefore thinks that this is very different from 500 years ago. The priest says that their Temple of Pavel, as they all already know, honors the remains of the Archmage Lancer Aquinal, and also keeps the seal of the evil dragon. Hearing this, the bird was surprised. The priest says that they, in turn, were criticized for worshipping the remains of a magical archmage, but they could not afford to leave the seal of the evil dragon unattended. Hearing this, Rebus says that he is a fucking liar, and then claims that this evil dragon is now right in front of him, and he wonders what this seal is that they are bragging about so much. The priest says that the heart of Lancer, the man who sealed the evil dragon, was as pure as theirs when they worry about the safety of their empire. Rebus thought that this wasn't even funny, and he didn't understand how this old geezer dared to talk about Lancer. The high priest claims that they sealed the remains by pouring the power of their priests and paladins into strengthening the seal of the evil dragon. He then states that it was not easy, but everyone in the temple will try their best and do everything possible to prevent the dragon from returning to their world. The girl suggests that the dragon control himself. He says that he will show these bastards what it is like to be reborn as an evil dragon. She asks what if innocent people get hurt because she thinks that they did nothing wrong to him. Rebus says that if it weren't for her kindness, he would have burned everything there to hell long ago. She thought about how people had never seen Rebus's true appearance, but on that day when they met, she no longer wanted to see him like that. Elaine thought that it was time for her to say goodbye to her family. The dragon said that her uncle seemed to be trying to ignore her. The girl claims that everything is fine, because on the contrary, it seems strange to her if he suddenly became friendly towards her. Damon asks Elaine if she is scared. Hearing this, she smiles and asks what he means. The guy explains that from this day on, she will have to live in the temple dormitory. The young lady asks why he is so worried about this because he thinks that her conditions at home were much worse than now. He agrees with her and says that it is true. The main character reminds him that he was going to join the Knights Templar and then asks if he thinks she should be scared. The girl looked at the guy who didn't know what to answer and thought that he still doesn't know the truth. The story about Demon joining the Knights is just an excuse to send her to the temple. And she understands that apparently he is not even a candidate for joining. Elaine tells him not to worry because Damon doesn't have to become a knight, and then reveals that it was just an excuse from her uncle to get her to join the church instead of him. The main character claims that after this introductory ceremony, no one will remember that he was going to join the order. Hearing this, the guy asks in surprise if she is telling the truth. The young lady replies that it is obvious and then asks if Uncle or Lark told him about it. He claims that he knew nothing. The girl understands that she has already noticed this before, that Damon is easy to manipulate since he was involved in all this with Martin and Ellie, who also unconditionally obeyed the words of Lark and Uncle. Even in matters of life and death, such as joining the Knights Templar, he had no idea that it was a lie. Damon followed the orders his master dictated to him without a second thought, and he was just like a pawn on a chessboard. Elaine says that she understands that he was confused at the time and did not know what to do, and then assures him that he can rest easy because his uncle clearly does not intend to allow him to join the ranks of the Knights. The girl says that if he continues to run after Martin and act like a child, he will be seen only as a servant to carry out orders. Hearing this, the guy asks in surprise what this means. The main character explains that his value is determined by his uncle and Lark, and believes that they would send him anywhere where the interests of the family were affected. And therefore, of course, his opinion would not matter at all. The young lady recalls that back in her past life, she heard a rumor about Damon. As soon as the boy turned 20, he was invited abroad by an old acquaintance of the Nayud family to engage in trading business. After this event, the uncle and aunt were delighted and told their entire Soviet district that Damon had been recognized as Viscount Ellenforth. But in reality, they took him as a labor force and dumped all the hard work so that he would not interfere with the Viscount's business. After returning home, it turned out that Damon had caught some serious illness from another country, and his entire body was covered in boils and had a terrible fever. After the hard work that had undermined Damon's health, the illness turned out to be a fatal blow. The main character believes that perhaps if Rebus had not turned back time, he would most likely have died after she was sacrificed. The guy asks in surprise what he should do then. She explains that he will have to learn to live and make decisions on his own. And then she gives an example of starting to do what he likes and does best. The girl says he can become an expert in this field and start living a happy and independent life. The guy asks how he can do what he does best, and within minutes he says he will try. The main character understands that this may be a little difficult for a teenager who has just turned 16, but she believes that this is the best option she can offer him for now. The wife tells her husband that she finally feels at peace and then says that she still can't believe how she could live in the same house with this mudblood. Lark decided to go into the girl's room, and when he saw it, he realized that it was so small and shabby. But when Elaine was nearby, everything seemed so colorful. The young gentleman understands that there are no curtains or heating in this room, but the bed looks very neat and much better than Ellie's. Lark thinks that Elaine is at an age where she wants to rebel, but he thinks that if she is disciplined a little, she will start to obey again. Suddenly, the young gentleman saw the gifts he had blown up for the girl and thought that she was trying to take revenge on him. But he thinks that Elaine is too timid for revenge. The guy thinks that maybe this is too expensive a gift for her and she can't just accept it. He thinks that in any case, the girl won't be able to run away from him because he is the only one who will be with her. And he assumes that she will soon understand this herself. At this time, the main character thought that she had come to that room again and remembered that in 10 years of her interruption in the temple, she had changed her room at least 3 times. The girl thinks that this was her first room that left her with the worst memory. The dragon asks if this means that this is the room she will live in. The bird asks if she wants to sleep in this place. She replies that she does not yet because she thinks it is better to wait for her roommate first. Rebus asks in surprise if she will have to share this room with anyone. She replies that she will, and then explains that this room is better than the attic in the Newt mansion. Elaine recalls that there was a reason why she had bad memories of living there. At this time, a lady enters the room and looks at the girl in surprise and then asks why she was placed with the main spot of the Newt family. The main character understands that her roommate Debbie, with whom she will never find a common language. After all, she is the girl who fiercely tried to impress Lorena. Elaine says that she knows, and she also feels uncomfortable being in that place. Hearing this, the girl asks what she said there. At this time, the main character thought that she had nothing to fear since she would not stay there for long anyway. After all, she understood that she had returned to the temple only to help Emily. The young lady remembers that Rebus promised to save Emily if she helped find a certain object that he needed. And she realizes that without him, she would have no more reason to stay there. Debbie screams and asks why she chose this place without her consent. The girl asks if she wants to sleep in this bed. She replies that this is exactly what she wanted, and then tells her to get out of the way. Elaine agrees and then tells her not to ask her to change places again because she thinks that rumors might start that she is too capricious and selfish. Hearing this, the roommate thought that Lorena did not say that she was just a gloomy and timid girl. The main character understands that, as expected, Debbie specially chose the place she wanted to take in order to mock her. And at first, the girl even tried to be polite with her and resolve this issue peacefully, but she understands that it seems that it is not destiny. Elaine believes that in a past life she would have continued to indulge her desires in order to get closer and become more friendly. However, she understands that at this time she does not need it. Debbie tells the girl that when she finishes putting things away, she should help her too. The lady asks in surprise why she should do that. The neighbor asks if she understood and then explains that they are friends, and friends should help each other, and asks if that's not the case. The main character asks if she is her friend and also wonders if this means that they are so close that she can call her a friend in front of other students. However, the neighbor did not answer and only turned away from the girl. The young lady tells her to listen to her and then claims that she is not her friend or her maid, but only her roommate. And therefore she believes that she does not need to be told what to do and poked. Debbie explains that the maid always put things away for her, and Elaine just looked like the one who did it before. The main character explains that in such moments you need to say, please, because that's how she shows her politeness, and then asks if she was taught even such simple things. Hearing this, Debbie screams and asks how she dares to teach her, and then says that she will never ask her for anything again. Rebus says in surprise that it looks like there are more evil children there than he expected. Elaine thought that she hadn't even imagined that the ceremony would be so long, and she had literally been on her feet all day and she felt like she needed to rest a little. The main character remembers that even in her past life, Debbie only did what she complained, as if she wanted her to listen to her and eventually help her. However, she never heard Debbie thank her for her help. The girl recalls that over time it became natural for her to help her, and she believes that if such goodwill continues, she will no longer be able to distinguish an order from friendly help. The young lady remembers that she used to underestimate her value by listening to all of Debbie's complaints, but she believes that this time she will not make such mistakes. The neighbor turns to the girl and asks if she could help her, because she has no idea how to properly fold clothes in the closet, and also wonders if she can tell her how. The main character agrees and offers to repeat after her and then says that they will start with bed linen, because it itself will take up too much space in the closet and therefore it needs to be folded in this way. Debbie says she can't do it and then asks if she can do it for her. The young lady reminds her that she said she wasn't her maid. The neighbor screams and says that she can't do anything. The girl offers her to understand that in order to live like a saint and in this temple, she needs to learn to cope with such things on her own. The young lady claims that she will feel better if she starts getting used to it from now on. Debbie says she never thought it would be so difficult in this place. After all, her mother only said that she was going to a very honorable place to represent their family there. Elaine says that for such an honorable position, there is no point in excluding the successor from the list of candidates for service in the temple, and then asks if she understands what that means. She explains that the sooner they start, the sooner they finish. The main character says that since she has so much luggage, she needs to try to finish and free the bed by the evening. The young lady looked at her neighbor and thought that she was sleeping like a log. And the dragon said that it seemed that putting so many things together had exhausted her out of habit. The main character asks Rabs what she should find in this temple. He answers that nothing special, and then asks if she remembers how the high priest spoke about the remains of Lancer Aquinol, and then says that they need them. The young lady asks in surprise if he is serious. He asks if she thinks he is going to make jokes there. The girl says that this box is the main religion of the Temple of Pavelo, and then claims that they cannot take it without permission. Rebus explains that she doesn't need to bring it, but simply needs to take him there because he needs to make sure that these are indeed the remains of Lancer. Elaine asks if he thinks it's that simple. Then she claims that the place is closed to outsiders, not to mention that even priests can't just go in there. The main character explains that even if he wants to get into this place, he probably won't even be able to find it because it's strictly classified. The dragon says that he is not sure that he is able to determine the location himself, and then says that the force barrier in this church is too thick. However, he thinks that it is possible to try, and hopes that all the difficulties end there. The young lady says she is not sure because as they already know all the words the priest said about the seal were lies, and then asks how they know that the remains cannot be fake. Rebus replies that he hopes that is not the case, as he believes that they should still make sure of it. He then says that if the remains of the Lancer are preserved, then he should take them, and he is afraid to even rearrange what purposes these liars could have used him for after his death. The girl asks if Lancer Aquinol is his enemy. He replies that he is. She does not ask if he should not be pleased that his enemy is being used even after his death. He replies that Lancer was certainly a powerful archmage, and therefore believes that it is quite possible that the ashes retained some of his magical power. Rebus tells the girl that one can imagine that if some great priest or some other magician appeared, then most likely the first thing they would do would be to try to suck all the power out of him or turn it into evil magic. The young lady replies that now she understands that this is not the only reason, because there may also be remnants of Elaine's past life there. The dragon says that he does not want the remains of Lancer to be kept in this place and used by their enemies. He says that he has a feeling that the ashes are fake, but thinks that it is worth checking just in case. Rebus says that if there are any remains of the real Lancer, he would like to bury them in a sunny place. And when the dragon becomes old enough, he will leave the palace and find a place of his burial where the sun is bright and warm. Flowers and lush grass are in a completely deserted place. And this is exactly how he would like to meet his death. The dragon thought that the image of Lancer saying these words was still before his eyes, and even though he was talking about death, it seemed as if his soul was overflowing with happiness. Rebus says that it is terrible to realize that he died in a completely different way than he wanted. And his remains are used by swindlers, and therefore it does not bring him any joy, because such displays of emotion are typical only of narrow-minded people. The bird says that they dragons treat even their enemies with respect. Hearing this, the main character thought about whether they were not dragons who considered people their enemies and wanted to burn this entire empire to the ground. Elaine says she will help him, but suggests he shouldn't expect it to be that easy. Then she asks who would show a place like that to a child who has just been ordained a saint. Rebus explains that they still have a few years left and therefore suggests that they take their time. She objects and suggests that they go right now. The dragon asks her in surprise if she has any plans after leaving this temple. She replies that she wants to become a devoted servant of the church. In the special system of saints, these are people who live in noble mansions and help with prayers. Professional clergy are not allowed to live in noble houses. So instead, saints who have studied blessing live there to help with prayers. Usually such people are hired by families with deep religious beliefs. The dragon asks in surprise if anyone can become one. The girl replies that not everyone can, because to do this you need to pass an exam organized by the temple itself, and the requirements for it are unusually strict. After all, you need to memorize all 50 prayers without making a single mistake. The main character explains that it is much more difficult than the exams for priests. Rebus asks if she is confident in her abilities. Elaine replies that of course, because she has already memorized all the prayers. He asks in surprise if she seriously memorized so many prayers. The young lady explains that in her past life she dreamed of becoming a devoted church minister, but ultimately failed the exam. The dragon asks in surprise how this could happen. She replies that she had asked the Newt family for permission before this, but her uncle was against it. From that moment on, even if a girl applied for the exam without informing her family, she was rejected. The dragon assumes that they probably offered their hand in this and then asks if she thinks so. Elaine replies that it is true, but believes that this time she will not tell them about it again because she no longer needs their permission to find her own path in life. Mr. Nude welcomes the guests and says that it is a great honor for him to see them in his mansion. His Majesty thanks the gentleman for his hospitality, and then he says that he really liked his mansion and in particular the garden near it, and asks if he doesn't mind if he takes a look. The head of the family agrees and then explains that he is a little embarrassed that he has not been properly looked after for a long time. And at this time, he thought about how good it is that they only recently managed to finish the renovation of the mansion, and he paid most attention to the garden. The lady with black hair asks Malik what's wrong. He says in surprise that the dragon core energy has really disappeared. The woman says, surprised, that until recently everything was fine. He explains that he definitely felt it. Although his condition has been weakening for the last few days, today he does not feel it at all. The guy thinks that it clearly belonged to an extremely powerful dragon, and he doesn't understand what could have happened in these couple of days. Lancer realizes that ever since he arrived here in response to Sasha's summoning spell, he has been sensing dragon energy from the Newt estate. But he hasn't paid much attention to it because it's so weak and a little distorted. The man believed that it was simply a dragon stone that had used up all the magic contained within it, and that kind of energy meant little to him. Then, a few months ago, the Newt's energy activity fluctuated wildly, and suddenly, like a bolt from the blue, their family's aura suddenly blossomed. Lancer believes that if this dragonstone is really that strong, it could increase his magical power no worse than ether. After all, with such expectations, he came to visit Count Newt, but he understands that now the dragon's energy has completely disappeared, leaving behind only weak magical waves hovering in the air. The man thought that this was a curse because he thought that he only needed to sneak away with the Count's dragonstone, and therefore he understands that he shouldn't have put it off for so long. The lady tells the Count that he has an incredibly well-kept garden, and the gentleman says that wherever he looks, there are many unique plants growing everywhere, and therefore he thinks that it would be interesting to observe. Newt says he is honored that he could bring them some joy. The guest says he hopes his arrival has not put too much strain on the master with decorating the garden and repairing the estate. Rubain tells him not to worry because they take care of the garden in a similar way every year, and therefore believes that the mansion has not changed much. The gentleman says that his respect for doing such a titanic job in 10 days is quite commendable. Newt claims that it is not worth it because he is simply doing what he always does. The man thought that something must have happened during these 10 days, but he thought that asking the Count directly about it was not worth it. He understood that the lark was also not an option because he was too smart. The gentleman looked at Martin Newt and thought that he stood out for his ignorance and therefore believed that if he was talked to, he would give the necessary information. The guest turns to the guy and asks if his name is Martin, and then says that it looks like he's a Larka who comes out there much more often than him, and asks how things are going with him. The guy replies that everything is great because it is a great honor for him that he remembers him, and then asks if he minds if he asks Mr. Martin to show him his mansion. After all, he thinks that they are about the same age and therefore is sure that they will get along well. Martin agrees and asks to let him take him. The guy explains that at the end of the hallway there is a large window that opens onto a large garden. Then he says that today they left the curtains open so he could see everything. The guest says that their house is truly something to admire, and then says that it has changed a lot compared to what it was before. In a good way. Martin says his family appreciates his praise. The man asks if he has noticed any strange changes since March, such as strange people tending the garden or selling any of the family heirlooms. The guy replies that it seems like nothing like that happened. The gentleman asks if maybe someone left the mansion this month. He replies that their entire family is currently living here. Martin reports that his cousin was recently supposed to enter the temple for the saints, but Elaine went instead. Hearing this, the gentleman thought that this child was a stain on the family of Nude. The guy says that this situation happened due to circumstances in their family, and therefore believes that the gentleman has no need to worry about this. The man asks if the girl was allowed to wear any jewelry. He asks if the gentleman means jewelry. Martin says he was once told that his grandfather had entrusted one of the Newt family heirlooms to her mother, so her father would periodically search Elaine's room to find it, but in the end he was unsuccessful. The gentleman asks if he could tell what kind of relic it was. He replies that it was called a dragonstone. Then he says that his grandfather clearly gave the relic to the wrong person because he was living out his last days and was senile. Hearing this, the man thought that now he understood that the precious stone of the nude family was now in the temple. Sitting in the carriage, the lady with long black hair says that now she understands what this means, because after that girl joined the temple, the energy of the dragon stone disappeared. The guy says that now he won't be able to find out her location because she left the magical barrier that surrounded the entire Newt mansion. The woman says she now understands why the family's eldest son tried to keep it a secret last time. And the old coot passed the family heirloom on to his illegitimate daughter. The gentleman says that the eldest son did not even try to get her back and therefore believes that this must have seriously damaged his reputation. Suddenly, the boy heard a voice asking for help. The woman asks if he is okay. The boy answers that Abel is awake again. 17 years ago, Sasha, who summoned him, gave him the soul of Abel, who was not even a year old, so that he could control him at his own will. Abel's true soul can sometimes take control of his body when he forgets about it for a moment, but most of the time it is locked deep inside his body. However, recently he began to awaken on his own. Now he wondered if the aura of another dragon had disrupted his ability to control his mind. The guy turns to Abel and tells him to sleep peacefully because he can't think normally while he speaks so loudly. The lady asks if he is okay. He replies that Abel has fallen asleep again. She says that he has been waking up a lot lately and then apologizes because she didn't want to cause him so much trouble. The man thought about how Sasha didn't feel guilty for giving him Abel's soul. And then he remembers that he once told her that if she gave him the soul of this child, she would never get it back. And so he thinks that there is no point in doing this, so that later he will regret what he did. The lady explains that everything is fine because she gave birth to this child from a man she did not love. I think it would be better to use him in this way. The guy thought that he never imagined that he would meet a person so cruelly devoted to his desires. The main character thought that after entering the temple, her life was calm for some time. The believers who had just joined the church were only exchanging glances with each other, and this was due to the fact that this was the only way to understand who they were dealing with, whether it was a newcomer or a student who had already made his debut in society. The main character understood that, nevertheless, rumors that she was a stain on the Newt family would not take long to appear, and it was only a matter of time. But now she was enjoying this short moment of peace. Elaine realizes that her favorite catechism class is starting today, and therefore she feels that she will have to work hard. The girl became interested in how Rebus was now. After all, in the morning, he said that today she would go without him because he needed to check the barrier of this temple. The young lady thought that if something dangerous happens, then cast a spell on the recruit, he will immediately come to her. But he does not know how to use his powers correctly, but he will definitely be able to protect her. Elaine realizes that after such words, she feels safe. The teacher asks the students to take their places. He says that his name is Daniel and that today he will teach them a subject called catechism. Father Daniel was not very popular among the believers because he was a stubborn and demanding person, and the girl felt comfortable with him. The main character believes that he was the only one who treated everyone equally and distributed students according to status. The teacher says that since this is their first lesson, he suggests starting with a few simple questions, and then asks who created their world. The black-haired lady replies that their entire world was created by the Great Bara. He asks in surprise how she knows that. The girl replies that this is said in the great scriptures of the Laum, and as they know, the scripture is the direct words of the Bara herself. Daniel asks if there is anyone who can tell in detail how the goddess Bara created their world. Hearing this, the students fell silent, and at this time, Lorena does not understand how a person is able to memorize something like this. Elaine says that when the one God opened his eyes from the darkness of the beginning, light appeared, and the light illuminated the darkness, and from the darkness of the beginning, all things were born. The barren land became fertile and green blossomed, and over the river of fog, the goddess of light descended, and her name was Bera. Hearing this, the teacher says that it is great and then asks if he can know her name. The girl replies that her name is Elaine Newt. Daniel congratulates her because she earned her first point in catechism class. The teacher says that as they already know, his catechism lesson consists of answers to his questions. And then he says that he will carefully evaluate their answers, and after 6 months, he will sum up the results and give scholarships to 3 of them who stand out best in the lessons. The man explains that receiving a scholarship is not just a way to earn a little extra money, but it means that the person is pious and polite, and is also among the top 3 children from a noble family, and therefore it will be directly related to the honor of their family. The teacher explains that over the years he has been teaching this course and has received numerous requests to give answers to questions in advance, and this was usually done with the help of a dishonest bribe, and therefore warns them in advance that if they try to do something like this, they will have points deducted. Daniel explains that he will only look at their skills and therefore suggests that they give it their all. He says that if they understand everything, they will move on to the next question. The teacher says that after Bara created their world, she faced 3 disasters. Then he asks what those disasters were. The girl with dark hair says that some creature was jealous of the Bara's exploits, and then fell silent, and the guy says that after that he planted 3 seeds of evil, which was the first disaster. The main character says that the devil, who was dormant in the darkness at that time, began to envy the glory of the Lord of Bara, and in order to tarnish the name of their god, he sowed 3 seeds of evil throughout the world, which was the first disaster. The girl reports that the second disaster was selfishness that settled in the hearts of every person, and all people gradually began to violate the rules created by the Bara. Elaine explains that after this, the beloved humanity of the Lord began to doubt his power and fell into sin. And this was the final disaster created by the devil. The teacher says that this is a completely correct and amazing answer. At this time, the main character looked at Lorena and thought that it seemed like she was angry again. The young lady remembers that in her past life it happened after the second lesson, but she thinks that now it will most likely happen right during this break. And so she thinks that this time she must fight back with dignity. The teacher thanked everyone for their work and then said that they would see each other at the next lesson. After class, Lorena approaches the girl and says that she doesn't know how she knew what questions would be asked that day, and then suggests that she shouldn't be so sure that she'll get away with it. Elaine replies that she doesn't understand what Lorena is talking about, and reminds him that Father Daniel already said that he won't give answers to questions for any amount of money. The Countess angrily says that she is sure that Lark could have helped her with this. After all, he probably just didn't want her to ruin the family's reputation. The main character asks if she thinks that Lark could have told her the answers to the questions before without telling his fiancé anything, and then claims that she can be sure that this will never happen. Lorena screams and asks how she dares to mention Lark's name with her dirty mouth.